Hello, and welcome to Divisive Issues, the foul-mouthed, spoiler-filled comic book podcast where two fans and two non-fans talk about controversial and noteworthy comic books and comic book history. I'm one of the fans, Ryan.
I'm another fan, Sly.
I am allegedly a non-fan, Phil.
And I am a non-fan, Darryl. And I like that Ryan started this a little exasperated. He's like, hello, because we are in it, guys. This is the final week of 52, the last 13 issues.
Thank fucking God. If you want the summary of how I felt this whole entire month, just imagine like Darryl just putting nails in my fingers every fucking 5 minutes.
God.
That's how it feels like just to have your favorite story just be shredded by a guy who just doesn't appreciate.
I don't think you're shredding it.
Doesn't appreciate anything.
So I highly recommend you listen to the first 3 episodes because we are the best, right? No, because we're not really going to be recapping much, but this time we are rounding out the end of the Patreon drive, which ends today. It's the last day, and I'll get into a very special reach goal that we have as we go later on in the show.
You get to meet the hosts of Divisive Issues if you live in New York.
I mean, that you could do that.
You'll get to meet maybe 2 of them because we all live spread out.
Yeah, but we will be covering issues 40 to 52.
Cool.
52.
Yes.
What does it all mean?
52.
Written by Jeff Johns, Grant Morrison, Greg Rucka, Mark Waid. Art breakdowns by Keith Giffen. And pencils by Eddie Barrows, Chris Batista, Joe Bennett, Giuseppe Camuncoli, Jamal Eigel, Dan Jurgens, Justiniano, Mike McCone, Patrick Oliff, and Derek Robertson. Whew. Boy. Okay.
And we're getting right in there because we start off with John Henry Irons versus Lex Luthor. What?
Yeah.
Yes.
If you remember from last time, Natasha, his niece, was captured by Superman
Hey,
Lex.
we said no recaps.
It opens
And
with
we
it.
meant no recaps.
It opens with him saying, I have your niece,
And
remember?
then John Henry Irons and the Teen Titans all break through Lex Corp's wall.
Yes.
I still don't know how you look like not a villain when you're fighting against Lex when the general population believes he's a
That's why Lex
that's
is
his point.
That's why Lex is a great villain,
Yeah.
because he's a straight up villain, but everyone he's always like smart enough to convince people that he's not a villain. So everyone, it's like maddening for the heroes. Like, God, don't you see? It's like Donald Trump. He's like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Of fucking DC.
Except he's smart.
smart. Yeah.
So it's the Teen Titans versus the Infinity Inc. Everymen that Lex gave their powers to, and they're fighting.
Can I just one thing I liked? The name of this issue is "Man Ain't Nothing But a Man," which is a part of the John Henry story. I saw that. And I'm like, it's why I love Steel. I just love John Henry Irons.
Not a lot of listeners know Phil just is crazy for steam engines. He's like really all about them.
It's a cool homage. He's a cool guy. He's like, I'm Superman, but actually I'm just a guy in steel
I
armor.
thought he
with
was
a
going to
hammer.
say, it's a cool invention. It helps America.
Yeah, how do you think you're powering your computer right now, idiot? It's a steam engine.
That is true.
It is. It's a steam engine.
It led to the fucking modern day industrial revolution, right?
I'm saying that all our power plants in
Oh,
modern day society are still steam
Oh,
engines.
that is true too. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
So they're fighting for a while. John Henry Irons basically just tears through everybody. And
They're
gets
fighting specifically the
Infinity Inc.
Yeah. And he knocks out Lex's right hand woman, Mercy, and
he saves Natasha.
he saves Natasha. And then
Well,
he's
first,
like,
just as a small thing, I like that he says, did I hear security right? The floors above are empty when, like, the intercom goes off. And they're like, so they said, and he just flies through all the floors into the office where Lex is with the Mercy, the right-hand woman, and that's when he just, like, smacks her out. And he saves Natasha.
yeah, this is why we hate Man of Steel so much, because one line of dialogue makes it all okay. It's not that hard to just have him be like, are people safe?
Yeah,
Yes.
which I like.
Yeah. So he tells Natasha, like, the Titans are in the lobby. Get down there. You'll be safe with them. And in the background, we see she looks rather mischievous. And she turns, she's the shapeshifter, every man.
No! Not only can he shapeshift into people, he can shapeshift into giant crab.
Yeah. So we get, like, this giant crab's fighting him and, like, crushing him in his pincers. And he breaks out.
He breaks out by shattering his armor too. Like,
It's awesome. It's a cool scene.
Oh, over the course of the fight, even when he's fighting Infinity Inc., his armor gets more and more damaged. You see it cracking as he flies through the ceiling and everything. So it's like, by this point, it's literally just him with a big hammer.
Yeah, so he just
Yeah.
looks exactly like the old school John Henry.
So he's got the big hammer, he's in jeans, and he's ripped. And he's like, where is she? Where is she? And every man's backing away to the hole that John Henry Irons just burst through.
He
And he's
broke
like,
his hand by shattering his armor.
yeah. And he turns back into his regular guy, and he's like, she's with Luthor, and he falls off, and John Henry Irons just lets him fall. And
Through the hole that he made, and
yeah,
splats at the bottom. And then Beast Boy's like, not enough room for 2 shapeshifters around here. And I'm like,
Well, he lays
you
in a
should
pool of
probably
blood.
call an ambulance, man.
I don't think anyone wants every man to live.
But superheroes are supposed to kill.
You know, it's not killing; it's letting
It's
them
letting die.
Like Batman, I don't have to save you either.
Yeah.
So then John Henry Irons breaks in, he confronts Lex Luthor, and Lex Luthor just like hits him with heat vision.
Yep.
And now, I don't know if John knows the extent of Luthor's powers, but he tries to bash his head in with that big hammer.
He's just mad.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he like slams him right on the head.
It's
so
funny
hard.
how that always works when it's like Wolverine attacking someone and then they find out they're invulnerable. It's like his blades like crash against their skull. I'm like,
Yeah. He would have impaled
Well,
him.
keep in mind here, Lex Luthor is a mass murderer. He killed a superhero.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it.
I wonder if John Henry would have been okay here, actually bashing him.
I think he was willing to kill Luthor before. I think Luthor's like his one exception.
Yeah. And but Luthor has his superpowers. He breaks out, he stabs them with the handle of his hammer,
Yeah.
and he has Natasha now like chained up in this chair,
Yeah.
and they go to fight.
I like that Lex is just like, he's so full of himself here. He's like talking to Natasha about how they'll make a better world. We'll even rename the Earth in my honor. Why not? Planet Lexor.
Yeah.
And then John Henry's like, no, because guess what? You have no
no noble
you have no
intention,
cause.
no love,
Right.
no creed. Nothing gives your life meaning. Only Luthor. And Luthor uses his X-ray vision to be like, you're like about to die.
It says, if I need an analysis, I'll hire a qualified shrink, Mr. Irons.
Yeah. And the whole time he's like, we're going home, Natasha, we're going home. And as they fight, the hammer gets thrown into Natasha's chair as Luthor drags John Henry up into the ceiling. And Natasha realizes that
You can EMP people with this fake gene that Luthor's been giving them to temporarily disable their powers.
Yeah.
Because we know it can be turned on and off. So she's like, the hammer has an atomic nuclear power source. I could create an EMP with it, and it would turn off Lex Luthor's powers.
Yeah. So then she does that, and it does that. And at this point, John Henry is holding Luthor like up by his throat on the side of the building, and he's like, "You ready for a fair fight?" And we don't even have to see it. Obviously, he kicks the shit out of him.
Yeah. And he also lets him know the thing that I like is that you should thank us because the Everyman treatment is toxic. It eats you up alive inside, and in 6 months you'd be dead.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't know his hand was detachable because he shoots off his hand or whatever, and then in the next scene he has both hands, and then the scene after he's missing a hand, and I'm like, someone fucked that up.
Yeah. These were made really fast.
Oh no! I think he has a robot hand. I think that's
But he shoots off the robot
Somebody
hand.
fucked up
and then,
and drew the rubber hand.
Oh, I see.
Yep.
It's fine.
So,
whatever.
and one thing, there was a bit of dialogue that I just forgot to mention that they're talking about Lex and his like Everyman project and how it made "look up in the sky" a like scary phrase because it reminisces about the people that fell from the sky and died.
That's
And then the
clever.
issue ends. Yeah, the issue ends with Raven and Beast Boy saying, "Look up in the sky," and they look up. Well, the issue doesn't end this way, but the scene ends with John Henry Irons and Natasha standing there over Luthor's unconscious body.
Yeah, and they smashed it. They smashed the LexCorp logo too.
Yeah, and they're smiling, and it's a happy, like, the good guys saved the day.
I really love the way this plot resolves because John Henry got to kick the shit out of Lex Luthor, but at the end of the day, the thing that actually turned the tide was Natasha using her science.
Yep.
And I really, really like that it wasn't just her uncle coming to save the day. She used the very thing that they have in common for them to team up and defeat him.
Yeah, it's a very fitting ending. I like how this plot resolved itself.
I particularly like, especially for these last couple of issues, how every plot you don't know when it's going to end. So I didn't expect the Lex Luthor plot to resolve very much the same issue where he got the powers. So I like this sets up the one happy ending before we get to a bunch of less happy endings.
Lot less happy ending.
Yeah, that's the fun thing about the last block of 52 is now that a lot of plots are resolving, you don't know, is this going to go all the way to the end? Is it going to resolve a few issues early? Where like beforehand, we were still shocked by some twists, but even when Booster died, you're like, okay, that's still pretty early.
Ryan and
Daniel
Phil
Carter
said
picks
it was
up.
obviously a fake out. They're right on that one, but will they be right about the future ones?
Yeah, and the issue does actually end with, it cuts back to Kahndaq, where it's just been raining non-stop for over a week, nothing's growing.
It's
And
like
this is
poison.
the-
It's like the pestilence rain.
Yeah. And Osiris is convinced that it's because he killed that person. He's brought like a curse on the land. His powers are cursed, and he's like, I need to do something. I need to go on a pilgrimage. I need to find a new family. And he tells his goofy alligator sidekick, will you come with me?
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's like,
Come
sure.
with you where, Osiris?
Yeah, to the Rock of Eternity to find a new family.
New family. All right.
All right, so week 41. So opens with space shenanigans with Adam Strange and Starfighter trying to get their way home, but like the ship is dying and
They're also being chased by bounty hunters still.
Yeah.
Olek the Hunter.
Yeah.
He speaks in chitters and ones and zeros binary.
and like Adam
Oh
Strange.
no, that's
like,
his little monkey friend. God damn. Fucking
and Adam Strange like makes it very clear like he's sick of this shit. Like chase for days, wrecked our ship, our only way home. As he's punching this fucking guy, and
Yeah, and then the guy's like, fuck you, and he self-destructs his own ship so they can't have it.
yeah. So then we cut to Renee. So Renee back.
She's in Nanda Parbat.
yeah.
That's where we left.
Yeah, well, that's what I left her
No
off.
recap.
Yeah, Charlie is dead.
No recap.
No, but it was, I don't think it was explicitly clear that he died.
Yeah, so like if
he
you
died in the snow.
Yeah, so if you thought like, oh, he's gonna get resurrected, no, he's fucking dead. Charlie.
And one thing you guys referenced, you're like, if he doesn't get saved, she's really fucked up for doing this.
Yep.
So,
And she did.
yeah.
Kinda.
yeah,
She at least got him there to like talk to her, but it is such a sad story where like how much pain she put him through because she was so desperate.
Yes. So, fun fact: the Question is one of Joe's favorite characters, and he said that issue is one of the most needlessly cruel comics ever made, and it's part of the reason why he's always hesitant to endorse this comic.
It is pretty dark. It's pretty dark.
Like comparatively to like a lot of other even like a lot of other comic deaths, it's like it's just very sad.
See, I find that to be incredibly powerful.
Yeah,
because,
me too.
Yeah, she lives in a world where people come back from the dead all the time, and half of this book was about like resurrecting Sue Dibney and all this stuff, and like her being like, how come he has to die, but Superman and Green Arrow and Batman, everybody gets to come back from the dead. I will do everything I can to save him, and because he's like not a high-powered character, it doesn't work.
I feel like it's also necessary to show how painful and imperfect other people's deaths are, like from him suffering from cancer, where it's like you don't get like good last words or like that you treat each other and it's like, oh, that was a good life, kind of like with a Captain Marvel when we did.
It's not heroic
it's like,
death.
yeah, and it fits the Question, I feel like, really well because it's like he wasn't like a super high, like the world didn't know about him. It was kind of like an unknown death.
And to me, it's out of like superhero deaths, it's the one that rings the most true. Not to bring everybody super down, but of like watching somebody die is it's ugly and shitty, and you're like doing everything you can, but at the end of the day, you can't do anything.
I view it as like taking like a dying person to like radical medical procedures, and it's desperate to save him, even if the doctors tell you like it's not gonna happen. Like we're just putting him through all this pain for no reason, basically.
Yeah.
Yep.
Renee is like now trying to act all wise from the experience, but Kevin Dragon, what's his first name? I forget.
Richard Dragon.
Richard Dragon.
Kevin Dragon.
I always forget his name. Richard Dragon is like, this is bullshit. Like you're just trying to fake it till you make it. Like go look in this cave of all this reflective surfaces.
He said, "Come like fight me in this ice cave," and then he starts berating her, where it's like,
I love.
You're not
He
doing
says
it
you're
right."
doing what you always do when you're faced with loss and guilt. You've just changed the props you use, a gi instead of a bottle. Like how she's just like. Instead of sleeping around and drinking, you're just doing martial arts and meditating as if this is gonna, fix her
and
problems.
we get her acting out like her grief through the combat, but also through like waxing poetic about like the flower that Isis gave her with Tot, and like just it's like the two sides of Renee that we've seen, like her like going into her like own head, and then also like not being able to face herself and just getting like aggressive.
Yeah, literally, because the ice cave they're fighting in has like reflective surface, and he puts your face up to reflective surface after hitting your ass, saying, "Look at yourself so you can see who can be." And Renee's like, "I can't," and runs away.
Yeah.
So it cuts to Ralph Dibney. He's visiting Teomaro's old place.
It's the supervillain like nursing home.
Mad scientist, not supervillain.
Oh, sorry.
They just coincide a lot, but it's because he's there and he's here to see Professor Milo the Technomancer.
Yes.
He's like a Batman villain.
Yeah. So he's like, everyone, you fooled everyone, Milo, buying all your shit. Because you use magic with your technology, able to hide a lot better. I know your wheelchair has a wheel that is magic
The
technology.
silver wheel of Nyarlath.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he takes off this wheel. He starts rubbing off the stuff.
Yeah,
to
and
show, the
Milo's like,
silver
help,
wheel.
this guy see my wheelchair, and the staff is like, what the fuck, Ralph? Like, we thought...
And the thing is, he's like, you've been faking. It's been hiding under my nose the whole time. And he breaks off the wheelchair. And then when security comes in, Milo actually is like a double amputee. Like, he doesn't have legs below the
yeah.
knees. And he's just laying on the ground like, help me. And Ralph's like, oh my God, what have I done? I gotta go. And he teleports
And
away.
yeah, Dr. Fate's like, it doesn't matter, we gotta go, it's almost time to do this shit we've been here for. None of this matters. So then Renee sits down on the bench in whatever the place name is,
Nanda
Nanda
Parbat.
Nanda Parbat, and a woman walks up to her, and she says, I'm waiting for a friend. And she says, he's gonna help me start a new life. And she says, like, I killed a man.
Yeah, do you have a choice? And this woman's like, I tell myself I didn't, but why are you here? And she's like, I was trying to save a friend's life.
Yeah, and she says, like, it was not fair what happened. The woman says, like, if you're looking for a reason, you're looking for a reason, and you're looking for it without. But the only reason you'll find will be the reason you bring to the experience, and that can only come from within.
And she's like, it's not that I don't want to look. I'm dying to look, but I'm afraid of what I'll see. And they're like, you have to do it.
Yeah, which will have greater rule over you, your fear or your curiosity? And it shows Renee in the cave, and with a candle. The candle's like snuffed out, and it forms a question mark. This is smoke.
And the thing that I like about this scene is this actually is a major character, not in this book, but in general. But in here, I read this scene, even if you don't know who it is, I've read it as like, this is just someone else on a spiritual journey that's like also at Nanda Parbat. You know,
Yeah,
for
it's
a
one of the
different
things
but
where it's like
similar
looking at
reason.
it makes it obvious, especially when you see the bracelet on her arm when she reaches over to touch Renee. But
Yeah,
I
she's-
didn't know who
she's
that
Wonder
was
Woman.
either.
I didn't get it until later.
But
Yeah.
like, I feel like you don't have to.
Yeah,
You don't have to. It is Wonder Woman. She's remorseful for killing Taekwondo.
It's cool because like,
Maxwell Lord.
Oh fuck! I can never get name. Stop criticizing my name pronunciation. I'll never get it right. It's all
Sly,
very-
say the words Nanda Parbat.
Never.
speak the words.
So it cuts to back to Adam Strange. I was going to say Doctor Strange. I was trying so hard not to say it. Adam Strange and Starfire, and this kind of goes into what I said before about Adam Strange is not really a superhero. He was just like a sci-fi guy, and like he felt like a superhero to like the space people he was saving all the time. But he went back to Earth, and like what does he compare to fucking like Superman and something like that?
Yeah.
So like, but Starfire is like you're our only hope to get home. So get your shit
Yeah,
together.
because their ship's like stalling. So then
They're falling into a sun, and she's bleeding
his history.
out.
He's like, you know what? We're falling into a sun in a disintegrating vessel, with zero power except what's feeding life support. And he's like, sure, you know what? I can get us out of this. We have nth metal shielding around the engine cores, right? And as he leaves,
looks like they're heading towards a planet, but it turns out it's a Green Lantern that looks like a planet.
Does he look like a planet, or is
he
he
is a planet.
yeah, he is a planet.
He must be a planet. Yeah.
You guys must love this because he's an Alan Moore character,
So-
so he must be the greatest.
So wait, is there a difference between somebody that like is big enough to be a planet? Like, is there like
Well, there's like mountains and oceans.
He's a sentient planet.
Yeah.
okay? So he's a specific sentence.
I remember you guys mentioning him before. That's why when it came up, the reveal was the Green Lantern planet. I'm like, that makes sense. Like they would have
Yeah,
this guy.
I
Don't-
didn't
don't
bet
they
an
have,
eye
like,
on it
Green
either.
Lantern bacteria?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, if you're getting life forms from all across the universe, why would they all look like just like guys?
Yeah, you think humanoids can survive in every single atmosphere or whatever?
Yeah.
Is that what you think, idiot?
Sometimes they have their own
I thought
atmosphere.
it was cool.
Oh, of course, Alan Moore, right?
He has interesting things.
I know,
Unlike
he does.
half the shit we read.
No, I like Mogo a lot.
All right, so now it's up to you to defend these shitty things, Phil. Week 42.
I will defend it. In issue 42. So we're back in Nanda Parbat with Renee. She's lighting the candle in that cave where she just, the light went out. And she's basically talking to herself in that, the noir style again about, like, you have to look into yourself and see what stares back. Don't be scared. And,
Because
she
even
says,
in the dark, her eyes have been closed the whole time.
Yep. And she says, just open your eyes. What do you see? And then she says, good question. And all around is pictures of her face, but without a face.
Reflections of her.
Yeah,
but
without a
faceless.
face.
So, and then that's the only side story. The rest of this comic is going to be Ralph Dibny. And I will let you guys know, I read this comic twice.
Is that good or bad?
It's probably bad knowing that.
It was to really try to understand, because this issue, I feel like more, other than the very last one, like drops a lot on you that you have to like think about.
I've So they're going to a place of power, Salem, Massachusetts, of course.
Yep.
The Tower of Fate, and the Dr. Fate helmet is like, I've taught you all I can. The hour is upon us. You have to do this to achieve your heart's desire. And he's preparing his ritual, and there's just all these faces where he's putting pictures of Sue.
They're like masks, like floating masks kind of thing.
Yep. And then the pictures of Sue, like they start reaching out towards them.
Yeah. So like, basically, like, you know that office episode where they all put like post-it cards on their heads.
Yeah, it does look kinda like
they put like pictures of Sue Dibney on these masks that are floating, and now the pictures come alive like Harry Potter, and they're reaching for Ralph, saying, Ralph.
And Dr. Fate is like, she still remembers you. You just need to release your fear. We've practiced the incantation. You have to say it. And the door to the afterlife is going to open.
And Ralph just keeps saying, like, what if I'm not ready? What if I haven't sacrificed enough?
And he's like, you've linked yourself to the wheel. Basically, all the stuff he's been doing.
Yeah, he linked himself to the wheel to enact spells of binding so that the outside world is safe from whatever takes place in the next few minutes. So they're like locked in here.
Yeah, nothing that happens in here can get out just in case he fucks up badly.
Yeah. So he holds on, he chugs a little more from his flask, and he's like, okay, I have to be with her. I can't risk screwing it up. Not now, not after going through so much.
There's one surer way.
So he puts on the Dr. Fate helmet, then he takes out the gun that he was going to shoot himself with from the very beginning. He holds it up to his head, like the side of his head, and he fires, but what comes out, it's the mask that gets shot out, and it bounces against the wall. You see
It shoots a cloth, by the way, like as it's being shot.
Oh,
away.
yeah. And then you see like a poltergeist come out of it, and then something spirals down, and it's his ring, and it lands next to Faust.
I love
the guy.
Phoenix Faust.
Faust says, you knew it was me? How? And Ralph Dibny says, because, Faust, I'm a detective.
Faust, if you don't remember, was the guy from like way back that when Ralph was going through hell, that was the guy that was being tortured for trying to get different like souls and stuff and sell them to like higher bidders.
Yeah, he gave away his soul so much that basically no one wanted it anymore.
Yeah, and I think I made fun of him being named Faust because I'm like, what a fucking cliche name.
Yep.
So this is one of the reasons why when we were like, you don't know what matters, we should talk about it.
Yeah.
And so basically what happens here is that, whenever you're watching like a mystery show and they're like, let me explain
It's the
what
parlor
I've been
room
doing.
scene.
Yeah, right. So he's like, you did a good job, but, here's how I knew.
He made the wicker effigy of Sue come alive.
Yeah.
And he was hoping that would basically put Ralph on this quest.
Yeah, he's like, you gave me just enough hope to hang myself. And he says, you must have been on the scene to get my wedding ring, which is the totem you could have used for possession.
Because he controls people with fingers, so that's his thing.
Yeah. And he's like, go, and so Faust is like scrambling right now, and he's like, you can't leave, the spells of binding, they weren't for my benefit, they were for you. And he says, okay, so you took me down this dark path, you couldn't simply pop up in front of me, so you had this elaborate murder mystery with the Dr. Fate helmet, so you knew I would go on that quest to try to figure out what happened.
And he even says, like, you set it up as, the first vision you showed me was that guy who put on the helmet and turned to water, and he's like, it's a locked door murder mystery, like the most cliched thing of them all.
Yeah. He says, I knew you were lying to me about how Trench died, and therefore probably more. So then that's what, I guess, tipped him off originally.
So he knew the helmet was lying, so he did what any good detective did, and the first thing he did when he found the murder weapon was he looked for fingerprints.
Yeah, because if the helmet was giving him the information that it was a closed-door mystery, the helmet must be lying, because like any detective knows, he's telling you this, it must be a lie. So he set himself up as a lie from the start.
Yep.
He looked for prints on the helmet?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's scrambling around looking for a weapon, Faust is, to fight Ralph Dibny, and he pulls out this magic staff, he shoots at him, and what do we get? Ralph Dibny's elongated man stretches and socks him in the face.
And you're like,
and he's like,
what?
You think I've been drinking booze? I haven't been drinking gin. I've been drinking gin gold.
Yeah.
But I wish
So
he did.
so he was basically pretending to be becoming an unhinged drunk this entire time to make Faust think he was winning. When in reality, he was just getting himself ready for this final confrontation.
Yep. And so he puts the gun to Faust's head, and he's like, Faust is begging, please don't shoot me. And he's like, this isn't a handgun. This is a wishing gun.
Wishing gun. It's a
magic
souvenir from
bullets.
a magician gangster that you load a bullet and you make a wish and fire.
And I know Darryl and Phil hate this, but I like this because
I don't hate it. Why?
I like it because it makes why would Ralph just have a gun? And and Ralph's mysteries are always wacky.
And it's
goofy
always
shit.
been tagged as evidence from the beginning.
Just to be clear, guys, I'm okay with fantastical stuff when it's in a setting that's fantastical. This is all magic stuff. I'm like, a magic gun could exist. I get triggered when it's like completely out of nowhere, you know.
And also, I don't think he necessarily believed that it was a magic wishing gun from the beginning, because his wish was, I wish I was with my dead wife, and then he put the gun in his mouth and started crying.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I just find it interesting because Ralph would not keep a regular gun from a regular crime.
Yeah.
It makes sense that would be a magic, weird mystery gun. It makes sense that would be from one of his Goofy adventures, because he had Goofy adventures in his time.
Yeah.
But they put a dark spin on it and revealed it was a Goofy spin all along, because it was always a magic gun all along.
Yeah, like that totally makes sense why he would keep a gun of someone else around. Like it would have to be something special.
So Faust basically spills the beans here that he was working. If you remember in his when they told the hell story about him, he sold his soul to Neron, and Neron basically gave him an out, saying, "Hey, instead of taking your soul, give me another pure and strong soul at its moment of greatest despair, and I will take their soul instead of yours." So his plan was to get Ralph Dibny to really just break emotionally and mentally, and then he would give his soul to Neron.
Yeah.
And then, speaking of which,
Neron shows up and he's like, "I'm just taking Faust and going home. Fuck off."
but Ralph's like, no, you have to give me back my wife.
Yeah, he's like, "Faust belongs to me, and you're not taking him."
Yeah, I want my wife back.
Yep.
Neuron's just like, you're fucking like a insignificant trinket to me. I'm a demon. Like,
You're a
stretchy guy.
carnival rubber man, he calls
Yeah.
him.
He chops up. Neron shoots off Ralph Dibny's finger when he pulls to get the gun out of his hand, and he's like, "This is, you can't wish me away with this, all right?"
I believe this is yours, as he takes Ralph's wedding ring off his cut off finger and flings it at Ralph.
He says, "Our transaction is complete. In return for Faust, I give you back your ring."
Yeah,
And
and
he
he
shoots it
flicks
through
the ring.
Ralph.
And this is why I love Ralph in the scene, because he makes it seem like he's just so because we're glossing over all the details because for time. But Ralph makes it seem like he's desperate he's desperately pleading with this guy for his wife back. In reality, it was all set up. All of it was set up.
Because he keeps saying, like, he talks from such a position of strength. You must think he has a way to defeat Neron, but he gets shot here, and as he's laying on the ground, and he says, "It's not over yet, you bastard. I got you." And then they're like, "What?" And he's like, Neron's like, "Let's just get out of here." And then he's like, "Oh my god, he put a spell of binding in here, and the only way to get rid of it is to have the person who put the spell remove it." And so Neron and Faust are trapped in this tower forever.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll make you suffer for this, Faust. And Faust, you hear last panel is Faust is screaming as the tower fades into the distance.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Ralph dies with a smile on his face.
And the issue ends with a cut of Sue's tombstone that Fire is visiting, and she's trying to leave a message for Ralph, but on top of the gravestone, she finds Ralph's wedding ring and starts to cry.
And she says, "Oh, Ralph."
Yep.
Yeah, I enjoyed that end for him.
I had to read it twice because I was really trying to make sure I got all the things, because I wish they had put in there that the spell binding could only be shut down by Ralph. Like, that would have been a cool thing to see in the beginning rather than you just put it on, because I naturally assumed, another magician could be like gobbledygook and then the spell binding goes off.
See, I feel like that would have been a little too...
Yeah, I think it makes sense
obvious.
enough. I think it makes sense.
It makes sense enough because the magic they're doing here is all this like the like demon devil magic, and usually those are like agreements. Like I give this to you, and you have to give me something in return. Or here it's like I give permission for people to leave or whatever.
And also, Ralph connect himself to all these ancient powerful artifacts. If there is a way to spell this effect, I assumed it would take a lot to counteract something that came from Atlantis, from all the dimensions stuff. If you want to counteract, it's not just be like, Doctor Strange comes, zap, it's done.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I don't know how strong Neron is in this DC universe type of deal, where it's like, is it someone that can rewrite the universe? I don't know.
But I think, the fact they spent so much on a journey made me confident, reading it, that this is going to be a powerful effect.
Yeah, and Neron doesn't come out of anywhere, because he was previously mentioned as the guy who we knew about his stuff with the souls and Faust and everything earlier. And just the reason why I love this end for Ralph so much is because even though he's been this magician character for this whole arc, at the end he was still a detective who got to exposit.
You're still a stretchy detective.
Still a stretchy detective. And the fact that he's killed by his own wedding ring as his final sacrifice to shut out these evil demons that were trying to steal souls from little girls and stuff. It's just, to me, it's just a really, it just really, really works for me.
I like the twist of it being Faust at the end because it's one of those like cool things where like when we first got the Faust exposition, I was like, this is bizarrely pointless to waste your time doing this, and I was wrong because Faust was a main character in this story. But
that's also why I defend all the seemingly random stuff.
Yeah,
because it's impossible to see if you see like one or two things and they have to be important.
Yeah.
Then it makes it obvious what it is. But because there's so much going on in week 2 of our coverage, it's easy to overlook Faust specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure like how adamant he gets about like wanting to get Neron at the end. Where I was like, did Neron have something to do with his wife? Because
that was my question.
I put up with this facade for weeks. I've been through hell and back to get to you. And I was like, for Neron or for Faust?
I viewed it for Faust for fucking with his wife's shit.
Yeah.
Like if someone was trying to use my grief for his own ends, I'll be like,
it's a bit weird because it's Faust is the problem because he was the one doing this. It wasn't like Neron set, or I assume Neron didn't set Faust up to it.
Well, the punishment that he has here is it's Neron torturing Faust for eternity.
Okay.
So like that's to me how I always took the punishment is it's Neron stuck there. That's an extra bonus.
Yeah,
benefit
an extra bonus
he's
to
evil.
torture Faust.
But yeah, really, he just wants. He wants to tell
I can
Faust
buy
to
that.
fuck off.
Yep.
So yeah, that ends Ralph's story.
Poor Ralph. I did feel bad that Ralph's like story is essentially like the ending he wants is for him to die.
Ralph won in the end. That's why I don't feel it's a bummer.
Yes. It's bittersweet in a way for him.
And like he was gonna kill himself at the beginning.
Yeah.
And now
it was a wishing gun, and we don't know what would have happened there.
I think it was pretty clear. He said, "I want to be with my wife," and put a gun in his mouth.
Yeah.
But it's very tragic, but I think it is a fitting and a powerful ending. So now, week 43.
Okay, so it's Sobek and Osiris, and they're going into the Rock of Eternity because they want to find a new family because Black Adam's cursed.
Yeah, there's a meeting with the Shazam family.
Yeah, and they're going down the stairs, and Sobek's like, "Oh, it's dark down there."
Yikes, Goob!
Yeah. And then they find the Captain Marvel, Freddie Freeman, and Mary Marvel at the bottom.
I guess they just stand there dramatically all the time.
Yeah, so I always wonder that. Or they get summoned there when someone comes in, maybe.
What I assume, because I know Shazam, Billy has to be there all the time to watch over the sins. I assume Mary and Freddie are there to keep Billy company, so he's just going insane all the time.
It just sounds like kind of boring.
That's what I was kind of thinking too, because it's like if he has to be stuck down here, you would want to visit him. Yeah.
And like their family, I think they would want to be with Billy.
Yeah.
Just bring a TV or something.
So Osiris is like, ever since I murdered a man, Kahndaq has suffered, the graveyards are filling up. And he's like, your powers that you share made you into a family. Mine have only poisoned ours. I beg you to get rid of my curse, to take away my powers. And then Osiris and Black Adam show up. And Isis. Yeah. And they're like, and Black Adam's like, they were not a curse.
They were.
Also, I like the little things that just remind us he's still a kid. He's like, "How did you find me?" And she's like, "You left the door open and just walked in."
Yeah.
and he basically he yells at Black Adam saying, "Kahndaq's suffering because of you. It's all your fault. I am suffering because of you." And he punches Black Adam.
Yeah, he punches him. And then as Black Adam goes to retaliate, just like Billy, Captain Marvel just grabs him and he's like, "Hey, don't break apart my home because I live here now. You'll unleash
I'll
the
banish
sins."
you.
Yeah.
I'll banish you to Rock of Finality, and Mary Marvel's like, "Rock of Finality? What's that, Billy?" And Billy's like, "I'll show you when you're older."
I like to think he's making that up.
And then Osiris is like, as Freddy goes to hold him down, he hits him, but his fists go back and hit his sister who is behind him. And that's what like gets him to stop.
One thing I want to point out, he says, "You're bleeding, I made you bleed." And then they forgot to make her bleed in the art.
Yeah.
I feel like they should have done that.
Yeah,
I thought the same thing, but whatever.
But Isis tells him it's like these powers have enabled us to do things that made a lot of people safe and happy. They're not a curse. Something has invaded Kahndaq, something like evil. We have to find a way to stop it. Don't turn your back on your family. And he hugs her.
Yeah. And Black Adam's like, "I know it's hard to accept what happened. It's hard to live with what you've done, but you've more than taken responsibility for it. And it was you who showed me how to do that.
Yep.
You who urged me to move on and make myself a better man. Now I'm asking you to do the same thing, my brother." And he's like, "I'll try."
Yep.
And then Sobek looks at the camera and he goes, "I could really go for some hummus and lamb right now."
Yeah.
And I says,
And
Sobek.
Isis says, "Oh, Sobek." I'm
And she rolls her eyes, a laugh track
garbage
plays.
character. And then we cut to
Animal Man.
Animal Man.
Last we saw him, he was dead in space with aliens bringing him back to life.
Recap.
And he's being reinserted into the continuum. And
He's like, put it back in the comic.
Yeah, no, that's
like literally,
exactly what it
like
is.
yeah. I was always, I'm like, well, this is getting very strange.
And so he's in
Grant
space,
Morrison.
and they're like, you need to use your powers and like to
They
survive.
say like use your powers in the next minute, otherwise you're just gonna die.
So he starts to, like, he can't breathe, the blood starts coming out of his ears, and he's like, what can I use the powers of? And he uses the powers of sun eaters, which are these little like things.
Jellyfish.
Giant,
They're not
like,
little. They're giant jellyfish.
Planet-sized jellyfish, basically.
Okay.
Do you guys remember when we did Final Night when Hal Jordan died?
No.
Oh, well.
Was that the one where he
Sunny.
fought Kyle Rayner and he blew up?
When Parallax had to sacrifice himself to save Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that story.
Yeah, he was saving it from a Sun Eater. That's why it was cold. and there was no sun.
Oh.
That's
Wow.
good.
Whatever, it doesn't matter.
No, I like that. I'm giving Grant Morrison credit for bringing that back.
Yeah, he's used Sun Eaters before.
Yep.
They're exactly what they sound like. They eat suns.
There's so many comics, because comics, there's so many different writers and stuff happening all the time. There's so many concepts that never get revisited ever again. I appreciated that such a cosmic level threat is a constant thing in DC.
Yeah.
That it's there that like Animal Man can tap into.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that touch.
So then he's like, migration maps, homing abilities. Oh yes, and so he's finding like his way home. Which I'm like, how do Sun Eaters give you homing abilities? But okay.
They home in on suns.
So then we cut to Lady Styx's ships. She's dead, but then we have a pregnant lady that was.
So this was a lady that like her like husband, like Captain Cotter,
Was a soldier, yeah.
Yeah.
were transformed
And now
into-
she's pregnant, and then she gets alien like crawling out of her
burster.
belly.
Alien the
Yeah.
movie, basically. where
Yeah.
chest bursting her
Crawling
belly.
out of her belly is Lady Styx. So you're like, oh man, she's still alive. She just rebirthed herself.
Spoilers: she doesn't come back again.
Yeah, she's not. She shows up like in. This is just Lady Styx coming back. I can't imagine a more appropriate time for a plug. Tonight, if you're listening to this the morning it comes out, tonight at 7:00, I will be live streaming with Malcolm about the film Alien and Aliens.
But now
and my
spoilers.
first
Now
watch.
you know there's things come out of people.
Yeah.
I've seen Spaceballs. I know.
Okay.
I've seen Space Husband not alien.
I can't believe you.
Oh, get away from her, you bitch. Anyway.
All right. Back to Kahndaq.
Yeah. So we have Sobek. He's talking to Osiris, and he's like,
So Big's like, what are you doing here? I thought you were meeting Black Adam and ISIS.
They're gonna dig a river through town, and he's like, I'm sorry, he's like, I'm not going.
yeah, he's like,
I'm
Adam
gonna-
may be able to live with what he did, but I can't. As long as I have these powers, I need to be far away from anyone. And then he's like, why don't you get rid of by saying your name and returning to normal? But then he's like, oh, but then you won't be able to walk. And he's like, that's it. That's my penance. Maybe then Kahndaq will be free from death and disease and hunger. And he's like, say it, my friend. And he says, Black Adam. And then he falls onto the ground. His legs don't work. Yeah, he's like, I don't hear anything anymore. You're right, Sobek. You're right, Sobek. Perhaps my life will return to normal now. Perhaps I will be happy again, and all Kahndaq will be as well. Sobek? And Sobek's eyes are red. And then we get a splash page of Sobek biting into Osiris and murdering him. Just eating him alive.
The rest of the issue is they all read, and he's trying to say the name again. He goes, blah, blah, and he's just getting murdered.
Yeah, he's just be trying to say it before he dies, but then Sobek just rips into him, and then he says, I'm not so hungry anymore.
Oh my
And
god.
this is the worst comic death I've ever read. It's the only one I ever cared about. I swear to God, I read this and I was upset, and I was like, "Oh my God!" I couldn't stop thinking about poor Osiris.
No, when you say worse, do you mean like you thought it was bad?
No,
Like,
I'm saying it hurt me as a person
it hurt
to read
reading
this.
It was,
it hurt
was
to
so
read.
sad.
It was upsetting to
Yeah.
me, and I'm very sad reading it again.
This is one of the most shocking moments of the whole book.
This is why I said, like, there's images here into my head, because when I picture this book, I picture, like, Renee carrying the dying Charlie up the mountain. I picture Sobek ripping into Osiris. Like,
Oh my
these
God.
memories haunt my fucking dreams.
God damn, this was so brutal. The way he ate him, and then looking back too, I went back and looked at some Sobek stuff, and he's always talking about how hungry he is as a joke. They're like, he's so hungry all the time, and he's like, oh, sorry, guys.
It's so weird that he was introduced in that filler issue that didn't matter at all, right, Darryl?
This is also why I defended. This is also why I defended all the humor up until this point, because all this humorous parts in the first half lead to the darkest subplot in the entire story.
Yeah.
I think it was to offset that inevitability.
Also, there's a lot of scenes too throughout this where Sobek has a pretty menacing glance in the back, but you don't really notice if you're not looking
Or you
for
just
it. And
assume,
now,
like,
really-
he's like, it's like whatever. He's just like looking around, or he looks that way because he's a crocodile.
Yeah, like I always view that as just art. Like a lot of our decisions are rushed, so eventually he's gonna look at Crocodile on some
So
panels.
I want to say something in defense of myself, which is I think it's okay to be wrong. I think that can make the book more fun. That I thought
agree.
he was a filler character, because then when I'm yelled at and I'm like, he's not, it's like then I start looking for stuff. I didn't see this coming at all. I assumed Sobek would die, which would propel Osiris to do something. I did not see Sobek being the murderer that he was.
Especially because I always have a soft spot for like pet type characters, and he's like his pet basically.
That's why I thought it was brilliant, because you never saw it coming.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone who's read the story
It's
ever
like
saw Sobek coming.
this, Faust, and Booster Gold being Supernova were 3 really good twists that I did not see coming, that were very like cleverly explained to me, where I'm not like, this is just dumb. It's like, oh. Because spoilers, Sobek is the 4th horseman of the apocalypse, the one that rides out before everyone else.
Yes,
he's
the hungry.
He's pestilence, and he's always hungry.
Yeah.
And this is why I wanted to talk about, like, this is why there's little moments like when they show up at the Black Adam wedding, when there's like the talking tiger, and you're like, that's so dumb, why is this here? It establishes that the Marvel family has this talking animal sidekick. So then when you meet Sobek, you're like, I guess they have one too. It's just a crocodile because it's like a scarier version, and it's like little things like that. But one thing I want to point out, Keith Giffen, who did all the breakdowns, thought Sobek was super stupid, and Ryan in our Discord pointed this out to me, that he did a sketch page really early when it was first introduced in Sobek's first issue as a joke, where it's Osiris being like, catch me, Sobek, catch me. And Sobek sees Osiris like a cartoon turn into a turkey. And then he makes a phone call. He's like, it happened again. And they're like, don't worry, just talk on the phone till that feeling goes away. And then Keith Giffen, when this happened, he was like, oh, I fucked up. I shouldn't have made that joke.
So I just gotta find. He's Phantom, not Pestilence. So,
I was about to say he's famine, which makes sense why he's so hungry.
famished.
And that's why I kept getting mad at Darryl's like a smug attitude, like this is filler, this is dumb. and I get mad because I feel the story plays, inverts, and uses campy elements to offset the audience, make them unprepared for twists like this. So Darryl assumed that it was just being campy for campy. I was like, you're not giving this book enough credit because it is clever.
I think it's more fun to let me assume that it's like where you're like, this will never come up again, and then how this was a really good subversion.
Sly can't control his emotions.
Yes, I can't. I really can't.
You can't expect him.
That's what I was saying. Like this works really well if I still thought that he was 100% dumb filler, like Mad Scientist. Island.
You were shitting on this book so much in the first half. I was positive you were just gonna be like, it's dumb. Don't make such a comedic character be evil. Like, this is a dumb story. I hate it.
Well, that's one of the things, too, that, like, this story, one of the reasons why it's one of my favorites is we read, on this show, we don't get to read a lot of really long stories often, so you don't get a lot of slow seedings, and this is why, like, the serialized long-form medium, like, of comics or TV, like, really work for me a lot better than just, like, why I gravitate more towards these kind of long-form stuff than, like, movies, because, like, that's why I haven't seen Alien, but, like, because I really like the way it's, like, it's seeded, like, weeks and even on our show where we're covering it in just 4 weeks and weeks ago, some of these plots were seeded, and seeing them pay off now when we're way more invested than just a 6-issue arc is like, you can't do this as well in a shorter medium.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is why me and Ryan are always saying our favorite thing is this character who killed himself in this issue and his wife murdered. Because comics, you can do it in most other mediums. If you never read comics, in most other mediums, characters are foreshadowed a lot more early on because the storytelling is shortened.
It's a lot more finite, and it's like a single writer usually.
Yes. So, but comics, they're able to tell a brilliant story, but it might seem goofy early on because they have issues of pages to fill, and then they're willing to. A lot of writers want to do that inversion where you think it's goofy, but it's not.
Yeah. So week 44 starts with Black Adam and Isis. They're still trying to fix Kahndaq, and all of a sudden, Black Adam gets hit by lightning.
I just want to say real quick. Sorry. I like the cover because the cover shows a blood splatter, kind of like a lightning bolt, but Isis reflections in the blood splatter, which I think is a really nice touch.
And you can also see like a little kind of like horseman shaped guy at the bottom right.
Yeah.
It's good.
What could it mean?
Yeah. Because it could mean just Osiris finding out about Isis finding about Osiris's death.
Yeah.
But it doesn't.
Yeah.
So Black Adam gets hit by lightning, and he says, I feel stronger. The powers of Osiris has returned to me. Yep. Something's wrong, and they run to him.
Oh, no.
Sorry to slow down every couple pages, but I just want to point out, I love this because it's such an ominous way to deliver that revelation.
Yeah.
Because he gets struck by lightning, he falls to the ground, and he says, "What has returned to you? The powers of Osiris." So like, I think you like we know what the audience knows, but like it's such an ominous way to deliver that.
Well, then we get this extremely brutal next page of it's Osiris's dead body and his ribs are popped open like someone has been feasting inside of his body.
Yeah, he was eaten.
Yeah, and he's like all shriveled and decayed,
missing an eye.
Yeah,
and Isis says, "Do something, Adam," and all Adam can do is put his cape over the corpse.
Yeah. And they're like, "What happened?" And this is when Sobek.
Why did he change? Why did he change back?
Yeah. Why did he change back? And Sobek reveals himself that he's like, he was a fool. He believed his powers were the cause of Kandok's misery. You know, for all he tried to do to sweeten his soul, his flesh tasted like rotten chicken. Yeah. He was too stringy. He's still stuck between my teeth. And he was just like, "I'm so hungry. I was so hungry."
They say, like, how could you? First they say, "How could you, Sobek? Like, you were his friend." And he says, "I was always awfully hungry. I'm always hungry, and only the flesh of a marvel can satisfy me. That's why they made me. I am not only Sobek, the Crocodile Man. I'm Yurd the Unknown. I am famine."
He's Yurd the Silent Chef, always hungry.
Yeah. R.I.P.
And so they're like, "But we saved you, you know?" And he's like, "I said I'd been left there after Dr. Savannah disappeared, but I only got there right before you arrived. And you're also desperate to help the poor and unfortunate. I figured I would just play that up and you would take care of me."
Yep.
And, you know, basically he, you know, like we said, he was one of the horsemen. He was sent by the Science Island. Yep. And he's like, "Intergang offered you everything they could for safe passage through Kandok. You said no, and now you're a threat to Intergang's ever-growing religion of crime. That's why we were brought here." And all of the horsemen show up. And they just have like a huge fight for a little while.
Yeah, but as they're fighting, Sobek says, "Let me tell you, I ate Osiris. How his organs popped into my mouth like fresh grapes." Like they're mocking them, like, "We killed your friends. Now you can't stop us."
Then Black Adam, he's about to eat Black Adam, and Black Adam holds his hands open, and he's like, "These are not men, Isis."
Open with his hands, and he's like, "These are not men, Isis." Sobek said himself, "They are monsters, and they will be treated as such." And then he rips open his mouth.
Yeah, it's pretty great because you forget how strong Black Adam is, and then you're like,
That's what I love about this story, this scene, because Black Adam quickly turns the table. Like, you thought you're gonna fuck me over. Like, now I'm gonna just kill you all for what you did.
Yeah, and this is such like a good like rah-rah. Like, you want Black Adam to win, even though it's like he's like anti-hero. You know, he's murdered men before. You're like, man, I just hope he like messes these guys up and gets revenge for Osiris.
Pestilence has such a cool design.
Yeah. He's like a cyclops with tubes hanging out over him, and like
he's got like a disease gun. He's literally made of viruses and bacteria. And nature is like telling Isis like this is unholy.
And Isis is like, how can man like create something that purposely just wants to eradicate like all living things on this planet?
Yeah. And they're just like, I don't want to sell it short. The fight is great. It's just like, it's mostly just them being like, "Fuck you guys."
Yeah. But what's cool about it is like they represent their theme a lot. Like war is just a million guns basically.
Yeah. It's
which
very
is like
destructive.
So
men fighting.
They subbed up Horseman really well, and that's why it makes it cooler when Black Adam is just like, "Whatever, now you're dead." Like all of you, like one by one, he keeps just shredding through them.
But then Pestilence blasts Isis, and she like falls on the ground, and
she's covered in
all
sores.
Boils and stuff. And he's just like, Black Adam's just fighting war while this is going on, while Death like puts his scythe to Isis's neck. But then Black Adam like rips off a gun off of War and then just starts shooting the rest of them.
Yeah.
And they're like yelling at him about like his original family in ancient Egypt that was like, "Your wife and children died in a war you were not here to fight. They die again in a war you cannot win.
Yeah.
Your oldest son begged for his life. He was a coward." And Isis is now, like you said, filled with disease. Black Adam's beating him. She uses her last bit of power to bring forth lava and send death into the sky, send him away from my husband. And as he gets like burned and blasted away, Black Adam's holding her in his arms, and she's like, "All we tried to do, my brother tried to do. I see it now. Why your way kept Kandok and its people safe." He's like, "I believe in you." And she's like, "I was wrong. It was never you that needed redemption. It was the rest of the world of men that made such horrible creatures. The evil needs to die. I thought we could be above them, but for the pain they have put our family through, avenge us." And she dies as it starts to rain on Black Adam. And like
a lightning bolt hits her and turns it back to normal.
Yeah, turns her back into Adrian. And his sad face turns into an angry scowl. And it's such a cool twist where she's like, no, I was wrong. Go fuck these guys up.
No, not just these guys. She's like, men are just like
Evil.
the world is
Like,
shit.
look what they
the world
did
is
to us.
evil. Yeah.
And I also like that it's like, because the whole time she's rubbing off on him where he's like, I want to be nicer, not as like vengeful or mean or rude and stuff. And at the end, like he really rubbed off on her. Where she's like, you know what? Maybe kill like capital punishment rules.
Well, I mean, she like literally spent her life in pursuit of service of humanity,
Yep.
and then humanity makes these machines that are like, let's just kill everyone for fun.
Yeah.
They were putting plagues on their people for months just because they were trying to be humanitarians. Like I didn't view as her being blown by Black Adam, but like they were like Black Adam was convinced by her, but she realized like she was wrong all along because they took their human compassion and just fucked over their people and their family completely.
In a world where intergang exists, the world should die.
Yeah.
Intergang should die. So that's why I was like, I'm ready for Black Adam to kill everyone.
But that's the thing. Black Adam does not make the distinction between intergang and the world here.
Well, we'll see that soon. But before that, we cut to Nanda Parbat, where the flower that Isis left Renee crumbles and turns to dust. And Renee says she's dead. Isis is dead. Whatever happened, it can't be good. Adam and Osiris, what will they do now? How will they cope? And Tot and Richard Dragon are like, go find out. That's the question. Go find out. Here, we gave you the question suit and special shampoo and like put your mask on. And she's like, I'm not going to be him. I'm not going to be him. I'm not him. And they're like, yeah, we know, but you should be the way you want to be. And you know what? Sometimes a mask can help. Sometimes a mask can answer questions about yourself that you can't answer on your own. And he's like, so why don't you go to Kahndaq and just see where it leads you? And it has her in Charlie's hat with one tear going down her eyes.
But she does not put the mask on.
Yes, she does
like,
not put
okay.
the mask.
This is also, speaking of my favorite things that I've seen in comics, this is one of the coolest taking of the mantle type things I've enjoyed seeing, like where you're like, this person's now the new whatever title.
Yeah.
Where like this felt so natural throughout the course of the story for her to take on this role.
Hey, it's my favorite thing. Tell me more about how good Legacy Heroes are.
I feel like a couple of issues ago, like 20 issues ago, you could kind of tell, like as soon as it says that like Charlie's sick, it's like you can tell she's going to become the next question, but it's never about like, will she or won't she? It's watching how she transforms into the question that's really cool.
And it's the thing with Legacies is how do they honor that? How do they honor the person without just replacing them?
Yeah.
But, like, there's always the, like, oh, well, there's this Flash and this Flash, or this Green Lantern, this Green Lantern.
This Robin and this Robin.
Yeah, and it's more about the stories that lead to them, but you don't get that by a Wikipedia page. Like, you might see, like, oh, there's two different questions. Isn't that confusing? But when you read it here, you're like, I understand why this is the way it is.
Well, they also didn't do, like, I assume, like, a question war where all the questions fight each other. Like, that kind of stuff cheapens it for me, I feel like.
You haven't read that story, Phil.
I know. I don't want to.
The problem with that is not because of legacy characters. The problem is that because DC always hated their legacy characters. They always admired Marvel because Marvel has one Captain America, one Iron Man, one this. So they always
even when other people take up, it's always temporary.
Yes, so they always because whenever there's a Green Lantern movie coming out, people always fight. Which Green Lantern should it be? Should it be Hal Jordan, the iconic one? Should it be the black one, John Stewart for
Guy
diversity's
Gardner,
sake?
Kyle Rayner.
Yes. So there's always an argument, and like there are like petty wars behind the scenes.
It divides the fan base, so I understand wanting to have the more, like, iconic version, but the problem isn't so much with the legacies, it's when the companies revive the old people and don't have a place for the other people, and they just kind of float away.
Yeah, that's why Flash War happens, because they wanted the original the iconic Barry from the Silver Age, but Wally was the Flash for the entire 90s, and people bonded with Wally. And now they have these two Flashes, and they're gonna go at it.
Yeah, thinking about that, I'm like, I actually do think I prefer the legacy heroes and the passing of the mantle rather than keeping everyone alive or having one person be it forever. Like, I really like how we get so many different, like, Blue Beetles or all these different Flashes, or the fact that it's like, I like Renee, so her becoming the question's a cool
That's why everyone
thing.
likes to mock the 90s, but 90s DC is, like, one of the best eras, because that happened all the time.
I agree. Like, we read all the Parallax stuff, and, like, that was very fun and interesting to see, like, this totally new thing that you wouldn't get, like, even if Iron Man became a villain, it wouldn't be for 10 years,
Yeah.
So 45.
Okay, so it opens with the funeral for Isis and Osiris.
And it's pouring the whole time.
Yeah, the Marvel Shazam family is helping bring the casket. Billy tries to comfort Black Adam, but Black Adam just shoves his hand off, and the Marvel family flies off.
I forgot to say, we watched Shazam the other day, and Chrissy came up with the name Shazamly for the Shazam family. And I wish they were called that.
They should. The reason why the thing about the reason why they aren't yet is because it was like what was it 3 years ago, 5 years ago? They decided to make them the Shazam family.
Yeah, this is when he's still Captain Marvel, right? The Marvel
so like
family. Yeah,
and they haven't shown up enough to really clarify what everyone's called. So like,
Yeah.
Mary Marvel doesn't have a name in the new continuity or anything yet. So like,
Yeah.
they still have to iron all that shit out. But they should be called Shazam family. I agree with you.
Shazamly is great.
Shazamly. Sorry, got everything right.
And then what would it be? Black-Adamly on the other side?
and then I like it. Renee goes to see Black Adam,
Yes.
and it's him looking outside, looking at the rain. And he says, "It started raining the day she died, and it's not stopped since. The people say these are her tears. They say the queen weeps not for herself, nor her brother, nor even for me, but rather for Kandak and her people. She weeps because she can no longer walk among them."
Then he notes, Sage is not with you, and
Yeah.
Renee says he died. And Isis and Black Adam says Isis no log. And
Yeah,
asks
she said
Renee,
he would.
Why are you here? And she says, like, I know like what you're going through. I know the guilt and self-loathing. I know being the one who survived. I know the rage that not having been able to prevent what happened. And I know how the shame of the failure. And Black Adam I love this scene because this is typical. Like, I know how it feels like to be the pain. And Black Adam's just like, fuck you. He grabs her face and says, "You have always presumed too much. Now you presume a friendship that does not exist." And Renee says, "Isis was my friend." And Black Adam says, "And in her memory that you're allowed to live your life. I do not require your help. I do not want your pity. Look to your own affairs and leave me to attend to mine." I love this because it's so cliche that a pep talk makes you feel better. But like Black Adam would not be cheered. Black Adam would not be cheered up by a pep
Yeah,
talk.
Black
He'd be like,
Adam
"Fuck
wouldn't
off."
like. I like Renee trying, but Black Adam's just like he's too stubborn. He's too like. He still doesn't show a lot of his emotions. He's just like he doesn't have time for like this commiserating. He only has time for revenge.
Yeah. And now that the funeral's over, he tells her the last of the four horsemen went to Bialya and were given aid and comfort by the government. So, and the government's bought by Intergang, like they tried to buy their way into Kandak. But Intergang has other targets, don't they? Isn't it time you went home, Renee? You know,
as he flies off.
yeah.
And then the Covenant he's talking about is on the line with Mr. Mannheim. And they're like,
The leader of the crime religion.
and he's like, "You say you protect us while we shelter death." And
Yeah,
Mannheim-
Literally, Death is in the background.
Yeah.
He's like this giant goat-headed demon with a scythe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Mannheim's like, "Tough shit. Black Cat's gonna eat you alive. Fuck off." And he turns off the
Yeah,
communications.
nice
Black
sounding.
Cat flies in and just
Yeah, so
flies in.
Intergang set up Bialya as like a scapegoat, where they're like, instead of them finding our super secret science island, let's just say that this country did it.
Yeah, and so the leader of that country is like, "The four horsemen did not come from me. I beg of you, mercy." And Black Adam says, "This is mercy. It'll be quick." And he just fucking throws it to the ceiling and explodes his fucking head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he just goes on the rampage.
And Death is just killing guys too because it's Death.
Yeah.
And the army is like trying to fight him, but obviously doesn't do well against Black Adam. And then the U.S. government is like, something's fucking happening in Bialya. There's like a massacre happening. They can tell through like listening posts.
Yeah, so then they go to, the information gets to Checkmate, and Alan Scott, the original Green Lantern, is head of Checkmate, and he's just like, "We have to like handle this now. Like Black Adam's our responsibility." Coincidentally, at the same time, Adam Smasher has the same sentiments, and then he's just like, "Fuck you, Suicide Squad. I'm going to go with Black Adam. He's my friend. Like, fuck you, and your shit." And he leaves. And meanwhile, Black Adam is when I say he doesn't discriminate between Intergang and everyone else, he's massacring civilians. Like he
wasn't at first. He's crying over this flower, and then the civilians are throwing bricks and bottles at him because they're like, "Get out of our fucking country and stop destroying shit." And then he's like, "All right."
He sees the image of Isis and Osiris' mind saying, "Avenge us." And Black Adam says, "You took him away again. You took them all away." And he just starts killing civilians.
Yeah, it doesn't show it. It just shows like a panel of like broken glass, or like the panel breaks itself as he goes around. So it's just murdering thousands and thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah. And meanwhile, the Chinese superheroes are like, "We were part of the Chinese super experiment thing. Like, we're fucked. And the armored guy who's in charge is like, oh, we should fight against Black Adam. And the rest of the superheroes are like, no, we deserve this. Like, we fucked this shit up. Like,
well, one thing that's important is the like mental guy. I don't remember what his name, whatever his name is.
The
he
Buddhist
says,
guy.
Yeah, he starts asking, well, we must ask ourselves, how much did Beijing know about this attempt to assassinate him? You know, this conflict's been engineered by forces seeking to destabilize the global balance of power. So, like, oh, his name's Thundermind. And he's just, like, asking, like, you know, if they didn't want Black Adam to die but wanted to shift the blame somewhere else, wouldn't that benefit China in the geopolitical scale?
yeah,
And
and
they're-
the rest of them are like, no, like, your duty is to secure the Chinese people, not to idle speculation.
Yeah, because there's no proof that the Chinese government knew anything about this, but the guy who's like Thundermind is able to see in the senses of the reality.
Yeah,
or whatever.
no, but you could tell, like, they all know, like, why Black Adam is coming for them, but they're like, it doesn't matter why he's coming for us, like, we have to stop
Yeah,
him.
the general's like, meditate upon his weaknesses, dedicate your thoughts to his destruction, and there will be time for reflection when this is done. I like that they show that the Chinese guys aren't just like all one hive mind. They're all like, oh yeah, we obviously have to do this. So there's some guys being like, we need to think about how this came about. What does Beijing know?
Yeah.
And so this is one of the best Black Adam scenes ever. He's like, he's killing everyone, saying, Death, where are you? And Death shows up saying, you fool, with every murder, every death of every man shot, I've grown stronger. You have fed me. Thank you. You didn't understand this whole entire time. And Black Adam's like, no, you didn't understand Death. I am Death now. Like, your
Yeah,
shit
you
is
are Death no longer. I am.
He grabs Death and yells Shazam, calling down the power, which blasts Death.
And you are going to tell me who sent you. And then, Almighty Death, I'm going to spend the rest of your night slowly ending your life.
As he's like crushing his skull with his fingers.
And this is why, like, the idea of, like, oh, what if Superman was bad never appeals to, like, most comic fans. Because there's plenty of, like, dark Superman in comic books. Like, it's more of if you don't read comics, if you read comics, you've seen enough of Man of Steels and stuff like that. So you don't need that. So, I don't think it's a coincidence that non-comic fans were the most excited for movies like that. Right?
Yeah.
Because we have Black Adam if we want that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it ends with Oolong Island, the science island, and they're watching the news about how Bialya was massacred. Literally, like, 2 million people, I think, he killed.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that is a lot of people he was flying around killing.
Yeah, and the lady scientist, I'm sorry for calling her lady
Veronica
scientist.
Kale.
Veronica, I forget your name. I forget everyone's name. It's not me being sexist. I forgot.
To be fair, she is the only lady scientist, so
Yes.
that's not
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah, so and she's the only sensible one. She's like, she's coming to kill us. Like, we're fucked. And Dr. Savannah is like, no, we got this, guys. Like, we're gonna
yeah, it's
fuck
like,
his
this
shit
is
up.
great.
Dr. Savannah's been planning this the whole time because he's
Yeah.
like, oh, I've been waiting for this for a long time. The Black Marvel himself at my mercy. So what do we say? Stations, gentlemen, bring him on. So he has been... So the big master plot that Intergang had would be to blame Bialya, but Savannah knew that he would figure it out, so he has been, like, getting these scientists ready to just fight Black Adam.
And an important thing too that I had forgot about, but is important for this, is that Dr. Savannah is a Captain Marvel, like Shazam enemy.
Yeah.
He's a mad scientist
Yeah.
that's fought Shazam, so he would have the most expertise in fighting Shazams.
Yeah, and you always wanted to have, like, the Marvel power kind of shit. So
Yeah.
All right, so we're on Oolong Island. They're preparing the defenses. I love that they say that they have a force field that can withstand a direct asteroid strike that would extinct the planet.
Yeah.
But of course, Black Adam just smashes through it.
I mean, we have seen Black Adam's pretty strong.
Yeah.
He's pretty fucking strong, and it's like not.
and now he has everyone's powers now. He was splitting his powers before with Isis and Osiris.
Yeah.
Now he's fully powered, ready to kill.
And here, Dr. Morrow is this entire issue. He's trying to bet on eBay for the Red Tornado android head.
Yeah, it's like all he cares about is getting Red Tornado back.
Listen,
Everyone's like,
I get
please,
it. I
please
get
help us, please help us tomorrow. He's like, no, I gotta get
Yeah,
Red Tornado.
it's like, can you believe this so-called artist has incorporated Red Tornado into his sculpture?
Last week, I guessed it on Stranger Still, and I made them stop recording in the middle so I could bid on eBay, so I get it.
And Gail, her name is, right? Gail?
Kale.
Kale. So the whole issue, Kale is just like, I hope he kills us. Like, we deserve to die. Like, please.
Yeah, we let demons take over the world, basically. So it's a lot of fighting, like all the different robots they created.
It's not really fighting, but Black Adam getting to their perimeters and different robots.
Yeah.
To put it
And like little people show up and he's like, well, they're like, Dr. Savannah's like, he has the powers of 7 gods. And some guy's like, well, I'm an atheist and I have the powers of ultra science at my disposal. The greatest killer android the world has ever seen. And then he whispers, he'll save us. And Black Adam just completely destroys it. You got people being like, Baron Bug will save us. Where are my Insectrons? And they like,
He's
just,
fighting
they slow him
robotic
down
ants
for, like, a
underwater,
second.
and robotic crabs destroying all of them.
Yeah.
And-
It's really fun.
And Kale goes to
Will
Dr.
Magnus.
Will Magnus, and Will Magnus he's also preoccupied with his plutonium man, and she says, "I used you, Will. I used everyone. Do you hate me?"
Oh, she sleeps with him.
She sleeps with him first because she's like, all this death and despair turns me on.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like, when I was a little girl, I wanted to change the world, but human history is at its end, and none of this will be remembered. So I just want to have a little fun before we all die.
Yeah. So she just has a gun.
Yeah.
Yep. So they're fighting. He's up to the blast doors, and they're like, "How's he gonna get? We can hold." And then she actually goes and opens the door for him.
Yeah. She's walking towards him, saying, "I made the things that killed your family, you arrogant alpha prick. It was me." But Black Adam just runs past her.
Because he just assumes this vulnerable woman couldn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't say anything. It's just him
Yeah.
running past her. It's like she's not worthy of his time.
He doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't even notice that she exists.
She's like basically like she's like mumbling under her breath, hoping he would kill her, but he doesn't care.
Yeah.
And she's like forced to just keep walking past him.
So he charges in, and all the scientists have their like crazy laser guns.
One of the
and-
scientists is giving them the pep
Oh,
talk.
I love this speech. Come on now, don't be scared, fellas. We've all been here before, let's face it. Some of you boys look like you've been bullied all your lives, and now the ultimate big bad bully's right outside knocking on the door. Do we run? Do we hide? Or do we get even? This time we have the weapons. We have the gang. And this time it's our turn to kick some ass.
Revenge of the nerds.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is what this whole thing very much is. Like
Yeah.
bad scientists are all like the nerds getting revenge on society, basically.
Yeah.
Yep. So he punches through the door. They have all these lasers they're shooting him with, like a suspension ray and a blinding
A
gun.
null light lens that blinds him. Yeah.
Okay. They shoot him with all these guns, and then
Tio Morrow joins in for a second while he was bidding on eBay. He's like,
in the 26th century, we can fold space time, and I learned that when I was 15.
yeah, and so I'm gonna put an area the size of a football field right inside of your head for a second.
Yeah, and that's enough. That basically turns to Black Adam's now fucked.
It's enough for him to stall Black Adam long enough for him to win his eBay bid.
Yeah, and they just start like pouring acid on Black Adam's head, and like shackle his brain.
They put like a neuro crown on him that basically it's like to capture him.
Yeah.
Oh, this poor guy.
This poor guy. And then they're like, and Savannah is like, you shouldn't have come here. Bring him to my lab. Heat up the acid baths. I've been making plans for this very moment.
And this whole time I was like, no, like he can't lose here, right? Like I thought he was just gonna come through and rain destruction on them, but apparently not.
I was almost upset. Like this can't be.
I was upset.
I was upset.
I was upset too, but I meant like I was like this can't be like this doesn't make sense. But it kind of does because these guys all do fight like superhero teams on their own.
And we've been watching them build gadgets for a year now.
They made the
Yeah.
Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
Which Black Adam, that was their crowning achievement. And Black Adam shit on them.
It's just it's seeing my favorite character like in the character arc, like Black Adam from my favorite character run in. Oh, I guess maybe the question is my favorite. Anyway, it's seeing Black Adam run in here and just lose to all these mad scientists. It was like so upsetting.
on the Horseman point, that's why I like the way this is set up. Like not like. Personally, I wish Black Adam killed them all, but like I like the way it goes back and forth because Black Adam can theoretically fuck them up. He has the upper hand. Like, he's turning to all his inventions. He just happened to get the upper hand using a bit of weird technology, and then they fuck him over and just start shitting on him.
Yep.
Yeah, because he's still one guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess if they can use this crazy technology, that I can buy it. And then Teomaro wins his bid on eBay.
He's excited because the secrets of the cosmos are locked inside the Entered's head since it saw
Yes.
52, the end of what was going on in the universe.
Yeah.
So he says, feel free to cackle hysterically, gentlemen.
We cut to Lex Luthor being arrested. John Henry's Irons is standing in his superhero outfit just watching. And he's like, as he's getting led away, Clark Kent is watching. And he's like, guys, come this way. And they run after him into Lex Luthor. He leads them to a secret door in Lex Luthor's building. and Steel just smashes through it, and that's where Lex Luthor's actually been hiding out.
Clark Kent's like, come with me. That's not Lex Luthor. I'm gonna guarantee you Lex Luthor's behind this door right now.
Yeah. And then the Lex Luthor was Everyman again that was being arrested, and Natasha takes him out easily.
And he says, and they're like, wow, you're trying to duck arrest Lex Luthor? And he's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Was my arraignment today? Clearly my lawyers are the fault for miscommunicating.
Yeah. And just as an aside, when Jeff Johns starts writing the Superman book that takes place right after this, it opens with Lex being acquitted of all crimes because his lawyers argue that it was the shapeshifter the whole time, and he's been trapped in that bunker for a year.
Oh my god,
Guys, I hate this so much.
Why?
I hate Superman. I hate that at the very end, Superman's like, with no powers, let me go in and show you. Like, it makes sense because...
it makes sense because the area that's hidden is a lead-lined door. That means every time Superman has been in Lex Luthor's base, there's one part of the base he can't see. So if he knows any place Lex Luthor's known to hide, it'll be that place.
Well, I'm saying, like, it makes sense that how, like, Superman is, like, he knows Lex the best because he's fought him the most and stuff. I just hate that it's like, you still need Clark Kent to be here at the end of the day. I think
that's a fair critique.
No, because Steel fought Lex Luthor like this one time. Clark knows Lex Luthor.
No, he's not saying it doesn't make sense. Like, I was like, this makes sense, but I can see the point that, like, why...
This was John Henry Irons. This was his victory getting Lex. At the very end, it's like a twist. It's like, you got Everyman instead. Let me show you where Lex is. And it's like, get out of my story, Superman.
No, because then the thing is, every superhero can catch Lex Luthor like Steel did. Only Clark can get him like he did here. Like,
yeah, no.
Like that will undermine Lex's character. Lex will now be taken in like this. He has done way crazier. He has done way crazier schemes than this. Like, he has a way out of every scenario. Like that.
It just feels.
It feels unsatisfying, but that is Lex Luthor. Like, you're complaining about Lex Luthor, the character. That's what he does all the time. Only Clark knows him well enough to catch him like this.
I just felt like the other ending was just so much more meaningful than this.
It's better, but that's the thing. Like, it's always the difference between being part of a shared universe, because Steel just did it being a good superhero and going after Lex. He does not know Lex Luthor personally. He has not fought Lex Luthor every day of his life. Like, it will undermine Lex's character to be caught that easily.
They also stopped Lex's plot. Clark just stopped him from getting away.
Yeah, like, I
don't think he would win.
I don't think anyone undermines Steel's location. Like, Clark did nothing to this entire story. He just...
But it was nice to have the 52 not with these three assholes in it.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Precisely.
This is the tail end, and this is why I disagree. I think it's cool that Clark had to learn a year without being Superman, and he had to find a way to be useful as Superman. And I think it's cool that one thing he's able to contribute is his intelligence, Lex Luthor. Something literally no one else has. No one else has fought Lex enough times. Steel has done everything. Like, Clark was useless in this entire story, but what he does know, what he can contribute, is his knowledge of Lex Luthor.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I'm not.
I didn't hate it reading it, but I get the point on both sides. I'm like, I kind of liked it without Superman, but it's okay.
Yeah.
So we go to Bialya, and the JSA is looking through the rubble for survivors, and there is no one alive. Black Adam was very thorough somehow, without lasers or anything. I'm like, how did he manage to make sure everyone was dead?
He can summon lightning bolts to, like, eradicate people.
He wasn't doing that a lot against the civilians, it seemed like. Though.
I think it looked like he was just flying around.
Just punching.
I know, but like, a Superman character can fucking eradicate people all he wants.
He's got laser eyes.
I think it's also been like a week or two. I assume most of the people that could leave went somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like, they're looking through, like, rubble.
Yeah.
Anyway, the stinger here is that Adam Smasher shows up and he's like, hey, let's go get Black Adam. Let's stop him.
Yeah, and I said this to Ryan, because this is another reason why Joe's has in the story. Black Adam is Joe's other favorite DC character in DC. And this was when Black Adam was always on the fence. He would do bad things, and then he will, like, help heroes randomly. And he was, like I said in Infinite Crisis, like, Black Adam's on his own side. And, like, Adam Smasher says throughout this entire story, like Black Adam kills when he needs to. He's not just a mass murderer. You guys don't get him. So I said to Ryan, Adam Smasher is basically Joe Sion in the story. Like, Black Adam's, you want to do this? You want to do this? Black Adam, you're still a good guy, right? You're still a good guy. And Black Adam's like, no, fuck you. I kill all those people. Like, I am a bad guy now. Like, fuck you.
Yeah, and Black Adam is not an anti-hero anymore. He is an unredeemable villain. He just killed millions of people.
Yep.
Yeah. I feel bad. I still feel bad for him though.
Me
the whole
too.
time, because I'm like, who would not lose their mind in this situation?
Yeah.
And one thing, a lot of people criticize DC for being too black and white, that characters are either like mustache twirling villains or Superman level iconic heroes. And Black Adam does stand out as this anti-hero character, and now he is a straight villain. Like, he's sympathetic.
But I don't think he's a villain like the rest of them, because he's not like, I'm doing it for evil. He literally
he's
lost
not
his
trying to
mind.
kill
And unlike someone who
heroes.
might take a bat and smash their wall.
But like,
or something.
could Superman go to Black Adam and team up with him now?
No. The thing is, to back up what Phil and Darryl are saying, this story I feel earned it because they put Black Adam.
I totally agree.
They put Black Adam to the breaking point. Like Phil said, he's not like Dr. Savant. He's like, you want to be evil? I want to take over the world. He was taken to the breaking point and he broke.
I also agree that like he needs to be stopped from killing all these people. But if he kills all these mad scientists, I'm not going to shed a tear.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, it's weird. Like, I don't want him killing civilians, but like these people do deserve death. These scientist assholes.
They all deserve the death penalty.
They all
from
deserve
Black-
death.
They all do.
I'm Black Adam.
That's why I was like, I feel your pain, man.
It's okay. Week 47, right?
Yep, week 47. So we cut back to Nanda Parbat. We're in the mountain, and it is Dick Grayson or no Tim Drake.
That's Tim Drake. Yeah. So Robin's here, and he's waiting. Bruce Wayne has locked himself in some cave.
Yeah, because
He's doing some other
everyone's coming to
ritual.
Nanda Parbat to learn stuff.
Well, if physics exists, it'll be a big deal. Like, if there's a place where you can resurrect the dead and...
Well, what we've seen of Batman, like in his little cameos here and there, he's been going to all these spiritual places to like purge
I
his
just think
demons.
it's funny that I haven't heard of this place until like this story, and then we have like 3 major characters all just coming here and hanging out.
The only one's a major coincidence is Wonder Woman. I think it makes sense.
It makes sense for Batman because he goes to Tibet and stuff.
He goes everywhere. Batman literally went to every mysterious place on DC. Ralph went here for Resurrection, and so did Renee. They went there specifically for Resurrection purposes. Only one
And
that's
for what
kind
it's
of
worth, Batman told Wonder Woman, "Meet me there. This is a place
Oh,
that'll
yes.
make you have a spiritual journey."
yeah. Batman asked Wonder Woman to meet him up with
Yeah.
this place.
Robin talks to Wonder Woman a bit, and he's like that Batman's going through this. It's an ordeal, a spiritual purification, something like that. After he climbed the stairs, and then we cut back to Gotham City, and there's crime, Bible, apostles
doing
are
sacrifices,
sacrificing this
cops.
guy. Yep.
In Kane's name, amen.
They're having some internal political like struggles because they were supposed to kill Kate a while ago because of the prophecy, right?
Kate Kane, Batwoman.
Yeah, so some of them are like, the prophecy's stupid, and they're like, watch your
Yeah,
fucking
we
mouth.
know the
How
book
you-
can't be wrong. The word is perfect in its cruelty and in its crime.
I love it.
The error must come from our interpretation of the prophecy, not the prophecy itself. And Mannheim's like, or the lack of faith.
And the Snake Woman realizes, wait, stop fighting amongst yourselves. Like, Kane, like Kathy Kane, the woman Kane, like, it's her, the twice
Well,
named
because
daughter.
they say the twice. Well, they've always been focusing on the daughter of Kane, but it's the twice named daughter of Kane, meaning she has 2 names. One
Kate and Batwoman.
Yeah. So it's like who they basically start saying who in the city has the name of Kane and would have the resources to become a bat person.
Woman? Yes, there's the secret.
Oh my god, this is
Well,
terrible.
so we're back on Oolong Island.
Yeah, Will Magnus
He's making this horrible monster. It's the plutonium.
the Plutonium.
Plutonium Man, right?
Yeah.
And he just keeps yelling like crush, raise, trample.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the tiny, he made tiny versions of the Metal
Metal
Man.
Man.
And they're like, don't do it, Doc, and name of sanity. Like, because like Plutonium Man basically represents his insanity, because that's what he created.
Also, the whole time you hear screams
Yeah.
in the background, and Will Magnus is like, I can't stop listening to the horrible noises. Black Adam, why can't they just give him anesthetic? And it's just like, he's just being tortured for weeks, I guess.
Yeah. Poor guy.
I want him to kill this world,
He's a
by the way.
villain, he
I wish
deserves
Black
it.
Adam won and destroyed the DC Universe. Like, just no one here deserves his life.
So we mentioned before how this is an event because there's no like it's not an event because there's no like tie-ins or anything. There is one tie-in miniseries, and it's just who wants 6 issues of Black Adam just fucking shit up.
Yeah, it's
What?
called World War III.
No.
Yeah.
What?
Really?
Yeah, it's
I
the
would
only
read that.
tie-in. It's a miniseries of just the World War III, and that's it.
I'm gonna go buy this comic book.
People were asking, like, are you going to do World War III? And we were like, no, Phil and Darryl hate tie-ins all the time. Phil hate it.
This is the one time I'm like, I really just want the villain to win. I want him to kill this world. I don't care. Superman can't stop him, so no one can.
Yeah.
You want after all this time you spent with like Renee and Steel, you want Black Adam?
It's like this world is irredeemable. It is shit. They like.
Phil's going through his teenage, like, the angst nihilist phase, where it's like, if I can't get an increase in allowance, no one should live. We cut to Animal Man getting alien powers, and they're like, hey, you're at the edge of Space B, you can teleport around. I don't think this stuff matters. I read this whole comic, it doesn't matter.
No.
No, it's just to show how Animal Man gets home. He teleports home using some eater power.
And he sees a man with her through space time, and he's like, "No,
I'm not in a Mark Millar book. I will not get cocked.
yeah.
So he sees a man with his wife, and he teleports to Earth.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then it's Natasha and Beast Boy are flying around, and it's basically about them establishing a new thing with John Henry Irons. It's like it's a new
Beast
team.
Boy says, "Do you want to be on the Titans?" She says, "No, my uncle and I are going to do our own thing."
Steelworks.
And they're basically making a new team called Steelworks.
And John Henry Irons hooks up with the Dr. Lady Kala.
The scientist kept giving information about his condition.
Yeah.
Yeah, Iris her, and she kisses him, and then he says, "That's harassment, you know that?" And she says, "Only if you don't like it. Otherwise, it's called romance." I'm like, "Ooh, that's a risky joke."
Risky, but I like.
And then we have Renee coming back and trying to go see Kate. She goes up to her penthouse, and it's been ransacked. The ceiling, there's. Like,
I love
a
the
whole
idea
ceiling
that there
with
could
those
be like a
destroyed.
supervillain fight in a room, and no one in the building knows about this. The walls are smashed in, the windows blown out.
Like the neighbor doesn't even know.
No,
Or
I think the
ceiling.
implication is that this just happened.
Yeah.
Oh,
You would
And-
hear that.
Yeah,
they
you
would.
would.
Maybe
It's just
fine.
done for dramatic effect.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
fine.
Yeah.
And then Nightwing comes in and is like, "We've got to get her back to
Yep.
Renee."
And then Wonder Woman's seeing the that
Ramakrishna.
Ramakrishna, and she's like, "What have I become?" And she's like, "You need."
You have to not be perfect. Mortals fail. You fail. It's okay.
When did in all your perfection ever share the pains mortals feel in the day of their lives until now? Welcome to the world, Wonder Woman. Here is wisdom.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Robin's sitting outside of that cave that Batman's in, just waiting for him to come out, and finally he does. And there's a shadow. His shadow's the Batman.
A shadow of the bat.
Yeah.
It's the Jesus analogy of rolling the rock out of the way
Yeah.
in the
He
cave.
came out, and they're like, he should be dead in there, like Jesus.
Yeah, so then week 48, we have Nightwing and Renee looking for Bruno Mannheim, and they're fighting in warehouses, a bunch of werewolves. and
I
lizard
really like
people.
the way they go through 3 days, and it's just a panel for each, and it's just them
Where
smashing. Yeah, where
is
is.
Mannheim.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of, the internal
Renee's
monologue
using her
stuff.
intergang gun.
Yeah, yeah.
Never runs out of ammo. It's an intergang.
Yep. It's
gun.
a laser gun.
Yeah.
Pew, pew.
Yeah.
And we see Kate getting captured
And drugged.
and drugged up.
Oh yeah, they want to create a world of sin where every sin is indulged, and Renee says there's a word for that. It's called hell.
Yeah.
Truly. It's a world of murder, rape, abuse, and extortion where every possible crime is venerated and praised. I'm like, this organization can't sustain itself. If you're like, backstabbing's good, but don't backstab us.
I view it as an apocalyptic cult, and the fact they're creating hell on earth kind of
Yeah.
confirms
And
that.
I don't think it would if the DC universe was like they win and this is a sustainable world, okay, then I would raise that. But it's not like they're in control.
It's just
like a
weird to have
sustainable
disciples for a cult that you would be murdered in immediately. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's-
where murdering's good.
You ever read Cthulhu stories? Like people are like somebody kills all the time. in
That's
fiction.
way different. That's like unknowable.
no, but
evil.
I view this as a more comic-y flavor of a death cult.
But the death cults, they're worshiping some ancient deity. They're like, we want humans to just rape each other.
There is religion. They just believe Cain is like some Christ figure.
They don't, but that doesn't mean they want to.
That's the
have
thing.
everyone
I think
rape
with
and
me and
murder
Phil,
each
it's
other.
just this internal idea.
No,
that
they
where
want everyone to rape each other. What are you trying to say?
You're saying that
trying to
the
say?
intergang exists.
The Intergang wants everyone's raping.
No, I'm saying. Are you saying in real life that there's like an analog for intergang?
No, not in real life.
Oh.
I'm just saying the death cult concept. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely
There are
pretty
yeah.
death cults.
I
It's just
think
like
I would buy more into a religious cult if I saw them turn people into big werewolves and stuff. I'd be like, maybe this religion's real if you
Yeah,
could do this.
It's not about it being real or not. It's about what
the
is
values,
desirable.
not the
and I'm
religion.
defending this story. I think that there's a seed of interest here, but I think there should be more like they get religious power or something to make it more believable that they would sign up for it. I'm defending it more because you guys shown this book so many times that I'm defending it just out of spite now.
so many times. The thing for me, I just want to say, it would be more believable if they preyed on the meek and the weak rather than just like let's murder everyone.
Yeah. I think there's a seed here, but I don't think they fully realize.
Or conversely, you do the full death cult thing where they're like, we want to bring about the end of this world.
Yeah,
and the best
so
way to
that's
do it
why
is
we're
death.
not killing each other right now. Because I'm like, why aren't they just killing each other if they believe in murder is so great?
There's a comic about the question that happens after the story. I never read it. There's a reason, because I agree deep down that this isn't that interesting. It could have been interesting, but they
Crime Bible.
they could have done an interesting thing of it. But
I'm gonna bury you with your crime Bible, you asshole.
Yeah.
So anyway, Kate is about to be sacrificed. She's on like the sacrificial table, and we get like a lot of Bruno just being like, "I'm really evil. The book is wrong. The book is never wrong." You know, they're in like Nightwing and Renee are in these like the last place where they're fighting like these hell demons that like are blasting fire.
They find
everywhere.
this like digging device or something, right?
No, they have they basically have these bombs that they've been finding, and we start to put together that these bombs dig.
They're basically recreating Apocalypse, the planet where there's fire pillars flying out of the center of the earth.
It goes up and down, so it digs down and destroys everything, and then it just shoots into the
fire
sky.
up.
Yeah.
And one of the important things that happens during this big fight is one of the werewolves, this guy Abbott, turns on the crime Bible and says, "I'm sick of prophecies. I think this whole thing's really stupid. I've been listening to Phil and Darryl, and I think they're right."
Like, why am I in this?
No,
cult?
I've been listening to this podcast called Divisive Issues. They keep saying this is dumb, and I'm like,
this is
got
Sly
points.
at the end being like, crime Bible's not that great, guys.
So he turns back into a guy, and he's like helping lead them to Kate.
I also love throughout this whole thing, you have Renee doing her noir monologue, like always talking about like what drove Charlie. Like, was I always looking for a fight? Am I always just angry?
And the narration is actually her talking to Charlie.
Yeah. Who am I, Charlie?
Yeah,
Who am I going
right.
to be?
And
Who am I going to be? Good question. As she puts the paste on her face and makes herself the question.
Yeah, she's it. As there's all the like the pillars of fire and the hellscape and the demon bat guy intergang people flying around.
Yeah, it's like it's literally like hell on Earth, and they're gonna go rescue. They're gonna go stop the bomb. She's like, "I'll take care of Mannheim." And Nightwing says, "Would you really die for this?" And she puts on the mask. The narration says, "Good question," and she says, "Wouldn't you?"
And her
so
costume's
cool.
basically the same as Vic's. It's just like a fedora hat,
It's
a
blue
long,
instead of brown.
Yeah, blue instead of brown trench coat, and like the no face with her long curly hair behind it. And it's just like
It's so cool.
it's such a good look. It's such a cool.
So I really like love this whole arc. I love that splash page of her finally becoming a question. I'm like, yeah, this is so great. But it's funny in like comparison of everything where I'm like, Renee, you can't do anything though. Like she has literally zero
Why is
powers.
Renee the one of the apocalyptic plot here? Like it should be like fucking another character.
Yeah, well, she has intergang gun. Assumingly though, why don't they have all intergang guns? Because like she gets this super powered weapon that they just had in a box, and
I think that's because Renee was a cop, so she shot people all the time. But Nightwing is a goody two shoes. Who never
no,
uses
I'm
guns.
saying the intergang doesn't use.
Oh, that's a good point.
They just use regular
some
guns.
of them do, but I assume that if you're a big dog person, you probably can't use.
You
every
wouldn't be
kind of
using
gun.
an Uzi.
Can't equip.
Yeah, can't equip. You're a
dog.
druid. You know you're a druid in D&D, and you can't equip weapons anymore.
Yeah,
That's
when you're a
like
dog.
that. Yeah.
So she goes into like the big church where Bruno is about to sacrifice Kate. She fights a bunch of snake people, and as she's fighting them, Bruno yells, "The word is perfect, my faith without question," and he stabs Batwoman in the chest with a knife.
Yeah.
And she's like, "No, not again, not again.
Yep.
Hold on, Kate,
She's
hold on."
shooting
And she
wildly.
Yeah, she's shooting wildly. She blows up like a little bomb goes off by Bruno. I don't know if it's like a light or just something.
I think that's just her gun. It blows stuff up.
Oh, okay. So she shoots like an explosive gun.
Yeah, and then
like, just
Bruno
grazes
falls
against
on the
him.
ground.
He's laying on the floor bleeding, and she's like, "Not this time. This time it's different." Because Renee runs to Kate's side and is gonna pull the knife out, but she's like, "No, don't take the knife out. It'll make it worse."
And they have a nice moment where she's like, "Where'd your face go?" And Renee says, "You're looking at it." She's got that Charlie smarm.
Yeah. And Bruno starts choking Renee, throws her against the wall, and that's when he pulls the gun on her and he's like, "Let's see if you make a funny pile of dust." And Renee says, "I wouldn't do that." He says, "You wouldn't, why not?" And you hear from behind her, "She wasn't talking to you, Bruno. She was talking to me." And Kate pulled the knife out of her own chest and threw it into Bruno's back.
Yeah.
And then she collapses, and Renee's like, stay with me. This time it's different." And then we cut to Oolong Island, where they're still torturing Black Adam.
Yeah. And not only they're torturing him, they're putting him on auction to the world.
Yeah, so this was Changzu's. This is why they didn't kill Black Adam. The inner gang wants to make lots and lots of money by auctioning him off.
Because they're like, he's the most dangerous weapon in the world. You've seen a demonstration of it. How much am I bid? Egg Fu says.
And this was seeded by Tio bidding on Red Tornado.
Don't.
And thus ends week 48.
So the cover of 49 is Will Magnus firing a gun in like a James Bond kind of style.
It's the reverse. This was seeded back when Will Magnus, the Metal Man, had the gun pointed at him. Now has a gun and he's shooting Metal Men.
From the 50s, that was a seeding of the gun.
Yeah.
The Metal Man shooting. Now he's shooting the Metal Man out of his.
Finally, it took years.
Yeah, so the cover shows the Metal Man as bullets being fired by Will, and so the Justice Society with Adam Smasher are just like, hey, you can't have Black Adam, he's our friend. We'll take it by force if we have to. And the Chinese superiors are like, no, this is our land. This is an act of war. Like, Justice Society. Get the fuck out.
Oolong Island is apparently Chinese.
Yeah. I mean that's where Egg Fu he was the Chinese leader, so he would command the island.
Yeah, and Oolong is a Chinese tea.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oolong.
And I like that they talk about, because I didn't like when they talked to the Green Lanterns before, and they're like, you're American basically, get the fuck out of here. When Green Lanterns technically are American, and Justice Society the same way. It's like we like protect the whole entire world, but they're like, you're the Justice Society of America, get the fuck out of here.
It's in your name.
Yeah, but I like it because they address it more here than before.
I like this struggle too, where they're like the Justice Society of America is like, we're just gonna come in here and get Black Adam. They're like, no, this is our land. You can't go in here and do this. Mm-hmm.
I am the socialist Red Guardsman of the Great Ten of the Chinese People's Republic.
This conflict made more sense than, what was it, Space Cowboy guy flying around? It's like
Terror Man.
Terror Man.
Yeah.
How dare you remember his name?
I remember. I'll never forget.
I'll never forget that you remembered.
So Egg Fu goes to the Will Magnus saying, "Oh, your Playman is really building along," and he says like, I'm not really that smart. Like, I just got really lucky. I just had this weird theory and it turned out to be true, that I'm not like Tio Mara, where I can come up with something and it becomes real. I just realized that basically every metal has its own personality. So Mercury acts like a Jerry Lewis or something.
Yeah.
And so everyone sounds more like an alchemist than a real scientist. And everything I do is more like magic than science. So you took me my meds, and it was kind of a bad idea for me to do that, because it turns out my middleman can be any size, including really tiny. And here they are, and he basically throws them at Egg Fu, and they basically just shatter him into pieces.
Yeah.
Well, they don't shatter him yet. They just kind of just like.
They're fighting.
They fucking shit up.
He shatters later.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so meanwhile,
the JSA's like standing off with. This is where we get them talking to each other about this.
And we also see a lot of shots of Thundermind with glowing eyes tapping into the senses of the universe.
Yeah, and every time we cut to him, all of a sudden when it cuts back, Alan Scott knows something he didn't know before. Yeah. So like it cuts to Thundermind, and then Alan Scott's like, "Why? Are you really willing to start World War III over one man? Is it because you're covering something up? I bet it is. Chang Zu's a member of the Great Ten, your superhero team, isn't he?"
That was a crazy shock to me, actually, because I'm like, they fucked up by putting him in like.
Yeah, so, Chinese would never pick something questionable for their race. Tio Mara shoots Mercury, poor Mercury. And Tio Mara's
says,
like,
this is a particle wave pistol, as he's holding a rifle. I'm like, come on.
And he's like, don't load the shields, like, you can't do that. And Will Magnus is like, it's too late, I'm disabling the defenses, this has to stop.
The Justice Society will be here soon and it'll be all over, but this control here operates Savannah's teleport link to his Omnibot, currently in geosynchronous orbit above our heads. So he's basically like, hey, Tio Mara, I'm going to let you escape because you were the best teacher I ever knew.
And Tio Mara says, like, I'm a bad guy. Like, I treat you like shit. Like, I handed you over to this mad scientist. Yeah. I don't deserve your loyalty. And Will Magnus says, maybe not, but like I said, you're the best teacher I ever knew. I look over the whole psychopathic villain thing. Yeah. And Tio Mara's like, well, we all have our flaws. And he teleports away. Savannah is like torturing
Black Adam
a bit before
Black Adam's away. Like, I'm gonna pull you apart and feed you to Billy's talking tiger.
He's like, have fun with Justice Society, bye bitch. Yeah. And the defenses go. So Will confronts Egg Fu directly now that the metal men are gone, and he basically reveals, I actually have another one, my man. It's lead, and I'm going to shoot him at you like a bullet, and he breaks Egg Fu into pieces.
Yeah.
And then before taking out a gun, just shooting him some more.
And he says, "You shouldn't have taken away my meds. I told you I do crazy things without my meds."
And now you see the egg cracked and gooey everywhere.
Yeah, Will Magnus is awesome.
And at this point, Savannah's like, wait, I can't teleport away. I'm so fucked. Every supervillain for themselves.
Yeah, so the JSA show up and they're like, Will, what are you doing here? He's like, I surrender. Like, don't beat the shit out of us. Just go get these madmen and get Black Adam.
Yep, Adam Smasher comes in and he's like, "Where's Black Adam? Tell me or I'll grind your bones to dust." And then he finds Black Adam and frees him, and this is where he's like, "So you didn't do this, like you didn't hurt all those people, right?"
And then he says, justice must be had. And he's like, what about justice for all the people you killed? And he's like, just tell me it wasn't you. And then Black Adam just says, they wanted a war, Albert. I'm going to give to them. And he teleports away. Or Black Adam lightning bolts away.
One of the things I was wondering is, why wouldn't Black Adam go through and keep murdering these scientists that were in here?
Because I think he has to go through the GSA. I think that's why he didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
The JSA
They'll
wears
just slow him down.
former teammates, and I think probably didn't.
I think they would just slow him down.
Yeah.
And he now knows that China has been like orchestrating this whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, because he says the ones who orchestrated the murder of my family still breathe.
Yep. And before it ends, we have the rest of the Infinity Inc. team, Lex Luthor's, and they're like, "Hey, we can still be like Infinity Inc. We just need a chance to prove ourselves." And it shows a picture of Black Adam.
Wait,
Bum, bum, bum.
World War III is him going after China and stuff?
Yes. China
Oh
versus
my
Black
God.
Adam is.
I'm gonna go get this.
I've never read it, so I don't know if it's any good.
Yeah.
Wow, really?
It's not written by the same guys.
But still, I feel like you would still, your favorite comic like series ever, you would read even like offshoots of it.
Issue 50 opens up with my man Black Adam doing what I wanted him to. He's just destroying everything.
And it says on the cover, World War III begins here.
And then one of the things I was wondering, how many World War IIIs have there been in comics?
At least 2. I think there's been a third one.
DC has 2 major ones. One is a part of Grant Morrison's Justice League, and then, but I think that's more the name of the arc. This is the only one that's like actually like a military war.
Yeah, World War
that I
III
could
from
think
in
of.
Justice League is more like our world versus another
And
world.
even then, is it a world war if it's one man as your opponent?
But it makes
No,
sense
it's
because
not.
like it's the Superman coming down to destroy us.
Yeah.
Like it's the Superman versus everyone else.
Yep.
So we see, the Marvel family getting blasted through the Great Pyramids of Giza.
Billy's like, stop this. Let me help you. Tell me what you want. And Black Adam's like, fuck you, and just punched him in the face.
Yeah.
Yep. And throughout the issue, it cuts to different parts of the world. He's in Australia here, and then he's in Rome. He's just like, it's a world tour of destruction, and like superhero teams are fighting him. And it really shows how powerful he is, because there are a lot of superheroes who go after him, and they don't do the bullshit like Nemesis
time.
or Prometheus or whatever I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Where one at a time. It's like they're all teaming up on him, but he's just really fucking strong.
But they are handicapped because most of the now he's in China, and the Chinese government's like, America, stay the fuck out.
So
Like,
this is what by the time we get to China, it's day 6
Yeah.
of the week.
when they get to China, all the superheroes are not allowed to help at all. So China's like, we got this. So far, fucking guy.
Yeah,
we
which I
don't
like
we
the,
don't want to
like-
let in American.
We're gonna let the,
interventionism.
the Chinese superhero group prove that they can stop him. Like they would do this kind of like show
Yeah,
force.
definitely.
We do get a quick cameo of Guy Gardner being like, "This is fucking crazy."
I know, but it's just funny because America couldn't stop. Like all the Justice Society of America and all these other people couldn't stop him. Like the Green Lanterns couldn't stop him, and China's like, we got this. We'll prove it.
Well, but that's the conflict there is the superheroes are like, we have to let the American superheroes come in here. We can't do this. And Alan Scott just has everyone lined up, just waiting right outside the border.
I love the fight with the Great Ten.
The Great Ten.
Socialist Red Guardsmen, you are authorized to attack. And it's all these planes that are actually people. You have all these like monks show up, and they're like, "You may have fought the JSA to a standstill, but you've never faced us before, Adam." And then it cuts back to them
Was that
waiting.
the 7 Deadly Brothers or whatever?
Yeah, and then later they're just all dead, or at least incapacitated. Arrows.
No,
are
they
flying
say
him.
at least the Yeti is dead. They say the
Yeah.
Yeti is dead.
Oh yeah. Also, one of the heroes has like spirit bullets, and that seems to hurt him, but it's not enough.
Probably because he's magic.
Because
Yeah.
eventually, August General in Iron, on behalf of the People's Republic, he has to. The people allow international help, and then you get 2 big pages of like all the superheroes flying in to stop Black Adam.
Yeah. and they basically just pound him. They're just dropping buildings on him,
I'm like,
exploding
as
him.
strong as you are, you can't fight everyone.
Yeah, so that's one thing I find. I call this out when I read this in front of Joe and Ryan. Like, as strong as Black Adam is, I don't think he could beat everyone.
Yeah.
Well, he's not gonna be winning.
But he doesn't
for
win. He
much
doesn't
longer.
lose because of lack of force or endurance. He loses because of trickery.
Yeah,
I think as strong as Black Adam, I think they should have had a scene like the Mad Scientist, where eventually they overpower him.
yeah.
You have this one scene of John Henry Irons and Natasha working on a missile that he'll inhale nanites when the missile blows up, and they'll fuse to his brain neurons and short circuit his motor functions. And Booster Gold just comes from like the future. He's like, "Oh, hold on, I need this missile anyway. It wasn't gonna work. Bye." And
I love
flies
the
away.
scene because like cameo of all your favorites showing up for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that this is like Booster's thing is he just comes through time being like, "This isn't gonna work. Bye."
Then John Henry Irons is like, grab your hammer. Like,
Another piece that I really love is now the Infinity Inc. kids show up, and they're like, "Oh, more reinforcements! I can't believe you guys are here. I heard you were among the few from the Everyman Project to retain your power. The world's going to hell. You said you'd be the first one to run into battle with Infinity Inc. at your side, and this is it, son. We could use..." And they go, I'm not going in there against that. See ya," and they just run away.
Yeah.
I mean, Black Adam is like killing everyone.
Yeah.
So.
But I like that, like, they set up, like, no, these guys aren't just these punk kids Luthor was
I
manipulating.
hated
and then, like,
that
now
so
they were.
much because I was on their side for all their arguments against the JSA and Teen Titans, and they show up here and they're like, "Well, we're cowards." And then they
I mean,
run.
it is against Black Adam.
I think that's a missed opportunity.
I think it would be cool to have maybe like one guy or like two
Yeah.
guys run
Yeah,
away and be
okay.
like, "No way," and then there's two more being like, "How can we help?"
And they could have had because they could have had a spin-off.
That's true.
They could have with these characters. I think that's a missed opportunity.
I think they did. They had an Infinity Inc. book, and I don't think it sold at all. I think it got canceled.
Maybe this is spoilers for World War III, but in this Rampage, does Black Adam kill any superheroes, or was it just the people in Bialya?
I don't think he
Because like, how does he not kill these
Uh,
people?
comic
Smash
books.
them.
he does kill some of the Chinese heroes at least.
Yeah,
He does.
those poor
Oh, yeah.
Chinese heroes, the Yeti. But all these named superheroes, everyone makes it out
Yeah,
fine.
like John Henry Irons says when the missile doesn't work, grab your hammer, and I'm like, what are you doing with a hammer? Like,
yeah, when you fight someone that's magic, it's like you can't, you just cannot.
We had this conversation before. The superheroes, they have to try. They can't just let this guy kill all these people.
Yeah.
They have to fucking try.
So meanwhile, in the Rock of Eternity, Billy has asked the Black Adam's Egyptian gods, "Can you take their powers back?" And they laughed and said, "This is what they want him to do, just
Yeah.
destroy the world."
I like that.
So the Egyptian gods are Phil and Darryl, like just kill the world. Like
It's a cool reminder that the gods gave him power.
And all the magic characters from the Ralph Dibny story are helping him brainstorm ways that he could take away the magic.
right. And so the plan is they all grab onto Black Adam, basically, a lot of the strong people, and they fly him into the air, and then Billy is flying down, and he yells Shazam as he smashes into him, and basically they force the powers out of him.
Yeah.
And the Flash or someone saves Billy, and then they can't find Black Adam, but you see him walking.
Well, because they're like, why doesn't he just turn back?
Yeah, they're like we did nothing. Like if he feeds around, he can still just turn back. And Billy's like, no, I couldn't get them to disown him, but I got them to change his magic word.
His magic word, and then they say he said like to what, and he's like, I'll never tell anyone, but he'll never guess it. And then you see poor Black Adam going through the streets, going Shazam, Captain Marvel, Kondak, Osiris, Isis, and he's crying as he's saying these names too.
Yeah.
Batson,
As he walks
Eternity.
into a crowd.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's just trying to figure out the magic word, and I'm like,
And that's the
This poor
final
guy.
appearance of Black Adam in the story.
Yep, that's his arc. I was like, oh, what a brutal, like...
yeah.
He starts by being a crazy murderer, ends by being a crazy murderer, but he has happy moments with the family in between where he helps a lot of people.
Yep.
Then we get the issue ends with the space Teomaro
The
coming down
Omnibot.
with Red Tornado he got from eBay, I guess, and the head keeps going 52, 52, 52, and Teomaro is like, "What did you find? What did you see in there?" And then he peeks in and he says, "Oh God, dear God," and then
Rip Hunter from the future with
Yeah.
Booster Gold shows up and says, "You got that right, Morrow. Get your ass in gear, Professor, because we're already way out of time." And they're like, what is this building up to?
Because there's only 2 issues left.
the cover of this next issue is great because it's Red Tornado's head with all these gears of Earths in it, and he's just in front of it goes 51, 50, 59, 48.
Yeah.
49, Phil.
So countdown to infinite.
I don't need to follow numbers.
And all the gears are like continents.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it's
Earths.
cool.
It's cool.
All these covers are so good.
So the issue begins, and it goes back to Animal Man's wife, and she was with a strange man. But it turns out that it was just like this guy that had lost someone too, and then she's like, you're trash. I thought maybe we could help each other, but
Your wife left you because you were cheating on her a bunch.
With
not
3
because,
different
like,
girls.
Not because
Yeah.
she went to space and saved the universe.
You're right. I'm over my grief, but I'm not over Buddy. And then she goes to go in the door, and then Animal Man teleports in, and he's glowing super bright.
I like this moment because he's like, I'm too hot to touch right now, so she just sits down and admires. him
Yeah,
for
I
a
like
while.
it too. Like she sits
He
next to the
probably,
dog.
he probably
who's
gave her
barking.
cancer.
Oh my god, yeah.
Probably.
I really like it's not really a twist, but that like it wasn't the standard, like he comes back after a year and she's like with somebody else. She's still like,
Yep.
nope.
She's
like,
still
you
loyal
know,
to him. Yeah, it's nice
Yeah.
to have like a family unit still intact rather than like
Yeah.
so many things have changed.
But this nice moment gets ruined.
So he sits down in the yard, and like his kids come in. They're like, "Hey, did you bring us anything from space?" And then we hear like this weird voices in the background. Target identified. Wait until week, then kill for a bounty for Lady Styx. So it's like there's still Lady Styx stuff going on. And then it cuts to the Superman's memorial.
So now it's been a year anniversary since Infinite Crisis.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, you have Superman and Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne are meeting here, and they're talking. They're like, "You look well rested. You do too."
So a lot of the scene is just like it's supposed to bookend it back to like at the very beginning. It was like the like Cult of Connor, not the like Resurrection Day or whatever that Booster was waiting for the big speeches for. And this is supposed to like put in stark contrast how different the world is. So you have like a different Wonder Woman. Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne are like not in costume at all. The Teen Titans have this weird new lineup where it's Tim Drake in a different costume.
They're also setting up
Yeah.
the status quo for 1 year later because
That makes
now
sense, yeah.
Tim Drake's like, I'm going to be on New Teen Titans. Deathstroke's daughter, you can be on here, but you have to behave.
Kid Devil shows up. He's like, "Hey, I'm Kid Devil." I'm like,
Yeah.
God damn. All these superheroes.
But this is supposed to be like these are the people coming out of the woodwork after
Yeah.
this year without the hero.
There's a nice moment because Tim Drake goes to Cassie, but she just flies away. She doesn't want to talk to him.
Nice moment.
I mean, I thought like
Character moment.
she doesn't want
Impactful. not
impactful.
like-
Yeah, she doesn't.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
doesn't want to talk to him. She's still not over.
You get this
Connor.
stuff with just Adam Strange talking to some
So it cuts
doctor.
back to Adam Strange, and basically now that he's back home on Ran, his home planet, he got some surgical eyes installed so you could see again.
It's his
and-
daughter, like her eyes cloned into his head.
Yeah, I don't know, that's weird. But their city has been besieged by these giant like sci-fi flame creatures for days, and he's like, "Oh, I have a plan. Just cut off all their oxygen. I could do this." And like he's back to being the like adventurous hero when his wife and daughter are there.
These are fantasy flame creatures, not sci-fi flame creatures, in my opinion.
But he says to the Green Lanterns like, "Oh yeah, I gave the Emerald Eye to Lobo," and they're like, "But," and Jon Stewart's like, "Oh, he just fucking went blind, flying through the galaxy for like a year. Let him fucking solve his
Yeah,
problems."
he says, "We'll go deal with the monsters. Let this guy have a day off."
Yeah.
And who shows up?
Well, not shows up here. This is Lobo's returning back to his dolphin cult.
Yeah. So it's the big
I
whale.
love the god says, "Enter unto my presence, main man."
He's like, "Why'd you want this thing so bad anyway, Exalted 3-in-1? Don't think I ever found that out." "Why, because of the prophecy, my child. It is said that the Emerald Eye of Ekron is the only weapon in the universe which can kill me. Kill ya!"
You don't say. And then you see one little tiny panel of the eye blasting the dolphin.
Yeah.
So I guess he's no longer pacifist.
And Fishy is watching in horror from behind.
Yeah.
And then we have Animal Man's throwing like a little party since he's back with like friends and family and stuff,
And he says that the jacket that he left with Starfire to bring home has all his like appointments and like his keys and stuff in it.
But then someone rings the doorbell. It's little tiny red monsters saying "Die, die, die."
Bounty for Lady
Styx,"
Styx. Die, die,
Yeah.
die. But Starfire shows up.
and blasts them. And she's like, "Hey, my name's Coriander Tamarin. On Earth, I was known as Starfire. Here's Buddy's thing." And then she like passes out.
And then Ellen says, "Did Roger order a stripper?"
Ellen
And-
Corey is space royalty.
And her kid says, "Wow, she's like a E.T. but with double DDs.
Double Ds.
Can we keep her?" And Man's like, "Cliff,
Thus ends the worst arc of this goddamn comic. Oh my god. I can't believe it ended like this. Lady Six doesn't even come back. The threat that was coming after Animal Man did nothing. Starfire didn't even get to meet Animal Man. And as she's passed out, people make jokes about her body. Cool. Yeah. Great. Amazing.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So then we're now into our final arc, because now what happened to Skeets? We still haven't solved what Skeets' deal is. So Skeets teleports in and he's saying, why this workshop? Ah, I see. And he sees the red tornado head going, 52, 52.
The android caught a glimpse of the garden and made a map.
Yep. And Dr. Morrow's saying 52 worlds, 52 Morrows, and it all comes down to me. And Skeets says, I want that map. And they lure him here, and Skeets reveals... Booster's thinking, it's like, what happened? We know your data got corrupted. And Skeets says, Skeets is dead, Michael. I ate him from within to make a cradle. A cocoon. Imagine my disgust. The mind of an alien genius trapped in the body of a lowly caterpillar. Stalled in a larval stage. But after being irradiated with suspendium, he was now able to transform. Now it's too late. The 52 weeks of his gestation is complete. At last the chrysalis can hatch into the metamorphosis of Mr. Mind, this giant Cthulhu-like caterpillar thing with big bat wings, and he's so hungry.
Eyes all over it.
Yeah, he's so hungry he could eat a universe, and he'll start with yours. And they're like, oh, it's too late, we gotta get out of here. And Booster's like, where are we going?
We gotta go back.
Rip pulls
We're
him back.
going.
We gotta go back.
Back to where it all started.
Next 52, the end.
I could not fucking believe that you guys were like, I bet Mr. Mind is in Skeets.
I love it because the whole time I was like, with all the other reveals and twists, I'm like, I definitely can't. I'm not gonna guess where this is going. And then when it was revealed to be Mr. Mind, I was like, hell yeah! I can't believe
With every twist in this book, that is the last one I would have expected you to.
I think it helped that we kept pointing out Mr. Mind all the time.
Well, yeah, but it's because we read the Mr. Mind thing last time, and the fact I was wondering where it goes, because if he's like a mind controlling bug, I'm like, he's got to be doing something. Like, why else would you show in like the first week the open thing of Dr. Savannah's Mr. Mind? It's also a caterpillar's a funny enemy to have, so he's very memorable. I wouldn't forget about Mr. Mind.
And they do specifically take time to mention about how they bombarded him with suspendium. Which is, and when they're introducing them, there's time particles in this world, and we shot them into Mr. Mind.
I was just still very surprised that you guessed that he was controlling Skeets.
You could not believe how excited we were watching the Shazam movie to see the Mr. Mind cameos.
Oh yeah, we were so happy about that.
We're like, oh my god, Mr. Mind.
So we are now here at issue 52.
Week 52 of comic 52.
You have to point out the cover, because...
Yes, so the cover is kind of like an inverse version of the other cover of issue 1, with all the heroes like in the back, in like shadow, with Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman stuff on the front. Now it's like a tombstone that has Ralph's wedding ring and his costume, Isis's headband, the Question's hat, with the main heroes of the universe that haven't really been featured here in the background. And to the right of the tombstone, you have Animal Man, Booster Gold, and Renee.
And
and Natasha and Steel.
Yeah, and I love this cover because it's like, it really it's like saying like the beginning was like, oh, what if there was a year without these three legends? Well, now it's like, through this year, all these characters became legends in their own right.
Yeah, and we had some casualties as well.
Yeah.
So it opens now. Instead of saying week 52, it's week 0, day 0. Booster and Rip Hunter are in the time sphere, his time machine.
This issue, I don't even know with this one. Please explain it to me.
So they're exactly 1 year ago. They're at the end of Infinite Crisis when the multiverse was being created.
I'm so glad when we were talking about doing Infinite Crisis, I forgot how important it was, this final issue. I had a feeling, but I'm like, when I read this, I'm like, thank God we did Infinite Crisis, because Phil and Darryl would be like, fuck this comic forever.
Yeah. So they're witnessing the birth of the new multiverse. So each parallel Earth is an exact copy of, so they're all like, it's the multiverse, they're all identical, and then they recap a little of Infinite Crisis of how, like...
So they're the instance when Superboy flew into that machine and created the multiverse, basically, instant way after.
Yeah, and these are 52 identical Earths in 52 identical cosmoses. So this is what Red Tornado saw and has been yelling the whole time.
52 Earths. He just couldn't
saw
finish
a map
his
of the
statement.
multiverse.
Yep, that's why we kept saying 52. He was broken. His language modifier, I think.
Yeah, they said language modifier is broken.
Yeah. And basically, everything Rip Hunter's been trying to do has been leading up to this moment because him and Booster are the only ones that can save the new Earth and Earths 1 through 51 from Mr. Mind. Because now in the, like, bleed between the multiverse, we have this huge caterpillar bat monster.
It's like in Kingdom Hearts where you're flying on the gummy ship, but from...
Yeah,
from, like,
it is a lot like that.
Don't. Just don't.
Bet you dare.
So now he also has the powers of the Phantom Zone because he ate the Phantom Zone like way back when.
Okay, hold on. Because I also struggled with this issue. He says, so they came to this moment when it was created. Why? Because Rip Hunter's saying that in a few seconds the Earths will occupy the same space on a different vibrational plane.
Yes.
Is that when? Is that the end of Infinite Crisis?
Because I think this got created because like ultimate reality is just like each reality is on its own vibrational plane or whatever or something like that.
But on the
Yeah.
same space.
yeah, but like
Yeah, I mean that's a standard. That's been a
Right.
standard sci-fi thing for
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah, this is like the moment where they first like flew out of the fucking machine that Superboy blew up.
So this is before Alex Luthor's using his hands to smash things?
This is
I
after,
guess so.
think.
Yeah.
Is it before or after?
No, I think it's right after, but it's before it's settled. It's still like it's like the concrete is still drying.
Yeah,
you know?
basically.
All right. And then Mr. Mind says, I was the dominant form of life on Earth between the dinosaurs and the humans. I'm like, whoa, what?
This caterpillar, man.
Yeah, so he's been feeding off of time and space, and then exploding out of the Phantom Zone aspect of his body is Supernova.
Well, Supernova stops them, like, as he blasts the Phantom Zone at their little spaceship. Supernova defends them and says, I got it!
Yeah, and Booster's like, wait, I'm Supernova.
Yeah.
And then Supernova shows up in the ship. He's like, let me in. And he unmasks, and it's Daniel Carter, the Booster Gold ancestor.
The one that had been trapped inside of Rip Hunter's vault.
No recap. Mr. Mind had, when he first trapped Daniel in that portal from way back when, he had imprisoned him in an endless loop of 52 seconds that he stole from Earth's timeline.
Which is why one of the Dr. Time or whatever was like,
Yeah.
I'm missing 52 seconds on my clock and I can't find them.
Yeah, and he's like, I did what I was supposed to do, now bring me home. And Rip Hunter's like, we still need you. We're the only one that could save the entire multiverse. They're fighting on a bunch of Earths. They go to one Earth that looks exactly like the regular DC universe, and Mr. Mind just like absolutely destroys the whole
Starts
thing.
eating years and events from this universe's history, changing everything.
So he turns it into this like dystopian hellscape.
Yeah.
Then they go to another one. He eats parts of it. So basically, he's eating lots of different universes that are creating separate alternate universes.
It's so fucked up because they keep jumping to different universes just for Mr. Mind to turn Superman into a Nazi or whatever. Like, it's like
He does turn into a Nazi. I didn't
He
even
does,
realize
he
that was
does.
him.
Yes.
And the only one fighting against him is that Uncle Sam hero.
Fuck yeah, Uncle Sam.
So he's basically just eating pieces of the multiverse while Booster and Daniel and Rip Hunter chase him. So timelines are fracturing.
Other way around, I think. He's chasing them.
Yep.
They're running, and he chases them there, and then eats part of their that universe. That's why I'm like, you got to stop jumping to these universes. You're dooming them.
Yeah.
There's no one that can stop him, so if they just stay there, they're gonna die.
Yeah, some of them become different art styles when he eats them.
Yeah.
These are all these are homages to specific stories. Like one of them is
There's a Kingdom Come universe.
that's
there's
the one the different art style because the one with the painterly art style that was painted. It's a comic that's painted. Kingdom
Yeah,
Come.
but this is the kind of thing, like, it's clear that these are alternate universes. If you get the references, cool, but they're one panel kind
Yeah,
of
there's
things.
not more detail about them or anything. They also show Earth 2. One thing I touch I like is they show Earth 2, and the Kryptonian is still missing because Power Girl and Superman are gone now from that
Yeah.
world.
So stuff like Kingdom Come was before this, right?
Yeah.
So, but they're recreating that universe that had it always?
Yes.
Because that well, we can talk about this at the end of this, I guess.
It's also weird that he's like eating it in such a specific way that it like recreates Earth 2's actual Earth 2 origin.
But that's why at the end of this I was confused as if it like I guess the multiverse is like this is all predestined to be this way or something.
That's the way I view it.
Yeah, that's the way I always read it. So at this point now, like, there's lots of different Mr. Minds eating lots of different universes as like the timelines like split and he's getting more and more and more powerful. And Booster's just like, why me? Like, I'm no quitter, but there has to be someone more qualified. He's like, I let down Ted, I let down Skeets, there's all these better people. Why me? I think Rip's basically just like, because you're there, you have to be the one to do
first Skeets, the Skeets that Mr. Mind emerged out of is still alive, and he's talking to him. He's like, you can do it, sir. I have the utmost faith in you.
Yeah.
And that's when Rip Hunter's like, we need to proceed his plan. And he's like, okay.
He's like, are you done are you done having your, I'm so unsure of what I'm doing. I'm the hesitant hero. Can we get this going? Come on.
Yeah. So Rip's like, okay, come on, we have to do this. We need a power source that's going to be strong enough to like power all of the weaponry that we need to do this. And the only place that is it Booster or Rip that has the idea? I think Rip's like, I know the place, and he sends Booster back to the day after the very first crisis, when Ted Cord it was one of his first outings as a superhero. And Booster sees him, and he's like, you look so young. And he's like, I mean, with everything, all this technology you have, I expected someone older. Mm-hmm. And they like joke around a little about how they're going to be in the Justice League, even though Blue Beetle's dressed like a dung beetle. And Blue Beetle's looking for the Scarab that we saw way back when in the OMAC project. And Booster finds it.
I like that, because they make this, like, they're, after having read Heroes in Crisis, I think it's important to establish when it's like their interaction is really nice, because it's like they are like a cool buddy bro combo, Blue Beetle and Booster Gold. And because like Booster Gold's like that, you look like you base your superhero identity off of a dung beetle, and seeing the broken Skeets that Booster's carrying around, he's like, so you base yours off of a Fabergé egg. I was like, that's cute.
Yeah, and I also like here when Blue Beetle's like, so you were born in the future? If you knew how I died, you wouldn't tell me, would you? And Booster, as he teleports away, is like, nah. And even if I did, I'm only going to say you died a hero, Ted, dressed as a dung beetle.
And Ted laughs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then it cuts to Savannah's house, where he's like, I'm back. And oh no, because it's still early. And this was when he was playing with the Suspendium and hitting Mr. Mime. And Rip Hunter just shows up.
He was missing a whole year. This was
This.
So
this is the future.
He comes back home and he's like, don't even ask. I need to get down to my lab. And then Rip Hunter shows up and shoots him. I'm like, good.
Yeah, he doesn't kill him, but he just shoots him.
Thank God someone shot him.
Yeah, and he's like, I need the Suspendium, fuck you guys, and he leaves. And then Booster shows up with the Scarab, and Rip shows up with the Suspendium, and they both superpower the supernova circuitry so that they can help save the universe one last time. They go back to Rip's lab.
There's a little tiny Mr. Mind. I will be ruler of all.
So like we mentioned before, he's like a Cthulhu monster, now he's like a tiny version of Cthulhu monster. And they catch him in Skeets.
Like a trap.
Yeah, well, they reinforce Skeets' shell with Suspendium.
So that he
and
can
it's the only place that can hold Mr. Mime.
Yeah.
And
Mr.
Booster's
Mind.
like, I said Mr. Mime. But Booster's like, no, but my friend. And Skeets is like, it's the only way, do it. And he catches him in it. And
the two halves of Skeets, basically holds the two halves and traps Skeets inside the middle.
Yeah. And they have to like slam it into this like open wound in the time stream. And Skeets is like, Rip's right, Michael. He's eating me from the inside, and I won't last. I never thought I'd leave this world as a weapon, but if I must, then let me be a Pulitzer. Because if you remember, he called a howitzer a Pulitzer before at the very beginning.
That's a really cute throwback.
And Booster's crying, and he's like, it's a howitzer. And Skeets is like, it's a howitzer. Yeah. I'm sorry for everything. All you ever wanted was to teach me how to become a better man, and I couldn't even manage that. Skeets is like, nonsense, Michael. You're about to save all of time and space. I must have done something right. Farewell, Michael. Bye, pal. And they open up the time wound, and Daniel Carter, Supernova, and Booster Gold do one last football play, and Hut hike the ball through
38,
the year
44,
52.
Hut!
No, you forgot the number.
38, 44, 52, Hut!
And they spike the football, and it goes backwards through the year that we just saw, 52.
And we see the flashbacks of all the characters, like Ralph choking Eclipso,
Black Adam and Isis,
Renee,
Lex Luthor,
and trying to carry Charlie.
Yeah. And because they needed to have a closed loop, so they spike it all the way back to week 1, day 1, the first day of 52, where we see a traveling Dr. Savannah see a Mr. Mind crawling out of the crater, and he goes, oh, I know what this is. I'm going to keep it my dreaded enemy, and I'll keep it in my lab. We'll see. You're trapped. You're trapped forever.
So they trap Mr. Mind in a time loop basically forever. Whenever.
Right, so he always will emerge out of the cocoon he'll always get captured by Booster and Rip, and they'll always throw him back to the beginning,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
So now Rip's like, okay, now there's this whole new multiverse and there's lots of time problems. Mr. Mind has done a lot of damage. We need to go in and protect it, but no one can know about the existence of the multiverse. It's too delicate of a secret. So, like, you can never tell anyone how important of a hero you are. And Booster's like, no, I want everybody to know, but not for me. I want Skeets to know. And Rapunzel's like, oh, then don't worry, because I just copied his memory, so here's... Skeets is fine.
Here's Skeets again. After all, like, this tearful goodbye, it's like, anyway, here's Skeets. He's back. Don't worry about it.
I mean, he is a little robot buddy.
That's Keats dead. This is a copy.
Yeah, and he says, like,
Yeah,
what
it's a
happened
copy
happened
scheme.
last year or so? And Booster goes, like, I'll tell you all about it or something like that.
Yeah. Listen to this great podcast, Divisive Issues. They recap the whole thing. So then they're like, Rip's like, it's not broken. It's just, the multiverse has lots of possibilities and we got to keep an eye on it. Welcome home, as they like start in their time sphere to travel the multiverse together as the guardians of the timeline.
And then we get our epilogue scene of like a whole bunch of different heroes doing different thing where it's like, here's what Checkmate's up to. Natasha and John Henry Irons are working together at Steelworks, and they're like, Infinity Inc.'s just gone now.
Yeah, and Kahndaq, there's an amulet of Isis that has flowers now growing out of it, so it's no longer like a dead place. And, people are still hunting for Black Adam, and then we cut to a preschool in Alabama where some, like, hell pit opened up, and, the kids left all these weird cryptic messages, and they're like, how will we ever figure it out? And the ghost of Ralph Dibny and Sue Dibny are there to solve the
And
mystery.
Sue says, honey, your nose is twitching.
Yes.
I'm like,
That's
how do
pretty
they
sweet.
solve mysteries as ghosts?
Well, I mean, it's
like, you
more
figure
of
it
just
out,
like
but you can't do anything about it.
I mean, it's not like here's a new status quo, check out this book. It's like, they end up as just like
well,
together
I don't
in the
know. They
afterlife.
could have had a whole ghost
No,
book.
they never had a Ralph and Sue series, but it is just to be like, in the afterlife, they're still solving mysteries together.
Yeah, now, like, he did, in the end, get to be with her again.
Yeah.
Just sweet.
And yeah, that's when we see the scene of Booster being like, I'll tell you all about it, Skeets. And then we have Renee tearing down the bat signal that had the question mark on it that Vic said. She puts back up the regular bat signal. And Kate survived the Batwoman stabbing. She's okay.
And she somehow survived with some weird pseudo-skin bandage. I've never seen artificial skin like that.
Yeah, and she looks out the window, and Renee says, I have a question, and shines the bat symbol up on her building. And Kate looks out the window and waves, and Renee says, are you ready? And thus concludes
52. Bum, 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 bum.
So,
I hated it. It was the worst thing I ever read.
so I want to ask, before we get to you two, Sly, on the reread, because I know it's been a while for both of us, how did you feel about it?
Well, how were your reread experiences?
It's interesting because when I first read it, I think my experience is similar to Phil and Darryl's, because I gravitate towards the question Black Adam the most. But now rereading it, I got to appreciate the other plots a lot more because they stood out in my memory a bit less. So they're more like new mysteries to discover. So it's interesting. A lot of this felt like rediscovering a story because so much happens in this plot that it was easy to forget a lot of it, and it really made me appreciate it more because there was so much stuff I forgot happened in it.
Yeah. I definitely have a newfound appreciation for the space stuff. It's still the weakest story, but
space stuff?
Sly, you convinced me that a lot of the campy stuff is fun.
I'm glad.
And helps break up the, like, really sad parts.
Like Lobo?
Yeah.
Not being sad, just like he...
Yeah.
Lobo makes
Yeah, like,
Daryl sad.
Yeah, and the Pope stuff was a lot more fun hearing you talk about it than it would have been, I think, otherwise. And I really went in with a newfound appreciation, looking for like how they set up ideas and how they do exposition and everything. And like, there are so many pieces that I didn't realize mattered until I reread it. This is probably like my fourth or fifth time through it, but there were still little pieces that I never noticed. Like, oh, this is set up 30 issues prior and stuff like that. And like, it still really is really high regard for me. So what about you, Phil?
I really, really liked it. This probably is... I don't know. It's tough because we've read so much stuff. This is probably my favorite thing we've read on here, especially for something that's so long. Like, I felt like it really... So many of the storylines were really interesting, and I wanted to continue with them. I liked almost all the characters in this. The twists I did not see coming. I really liked it. There were parts of it that obviously the Crime Bible stuff, I couldn't like it, but I just couldn't. And the last issue, I wish they didn't spend the whole crisis before being like, we got rid of the multiverse, and now they're like, it's the multiverse again, because it just
You know how me and Ryan feel the exact same way.
yeah.
Like that's something with comics. Like a comic could do a decision you really hate, but you can still like the story itself.
Yeah.
One thing I want to point out that I really like about the pacing of it is I really like that all the other plots were resolved. So the last issue wasn't like multiverse stuff, and also here's
Renee or
like,
find the Crime Bible.
I wish they just didn't have any multiverse stuff, but then it wouldn't be called 52. I mean, just call it, I don't know. I wish they just got rid of all the multiverse stuff.
You can find another name for like 52 somewhere in there. I don't think
they use the name 52 for the new 52 reboot, which has literally nothing to do with 52 besides you have 52 books come out. Like, it doesn't really fucking matter.
Yeah, but I mean, I like the multiverse stuff not because of in this story, but it opens up a lot of really great stuff for Booster Gold to do. And like I found a lot of that stuff interesting. That is not a strength of 52, but I think that like it's the only big open-ended resolutions of the plots, where all the other ones I felt like wrapped up pretty tightly.
Yes.
That one is like the part that's one of the reasons, because I always say it's like the best superhero comic, because it still opens up this huge world of storytelling that a lot of the ideas are not followed up on. Like Renee as the Question does not get really much to work with ever. And like stuff like the Starfire, Animal Man, Adam Strange stuff gets like a mini series later on and then like never really mentioned again. Like, but it's still, as it ends, most of the plots are pretty resolved, except there's this like full open world that Booster gets to explore that I really like.
Mm-hmm. I could see that. I again, overall, I loved this. And I say that word, and I don't think I've said it about most things we've read. I've enjoyed things. I loved 52. It was really good.
That's so great.
Problems, sure, but overall, loved it.
Yeah. What about you, Darryl?
So one of the things you had asked me before was that this was the last time when Sly yelled at me, was about like how is it compared to things like it's stacked up against other things we've read and stuff. I took a while in answering, and then Sly was like, "Don't you dare say that you didn't enjoy reading this." And I did enjoy reading this, but part of the reason it was taking me so long to think about stuff is that 52 is such a massive effort that it's really hard to compare it to anything else we've read, because maybe like one character arc we can compare it to like one other story. Like I was thinking like the big Doctor Strange where he goes through like a lot of different dimensions and stuff, like that's a journey in and of itself. But 52 has like 5 of those all wrapped together into one story. So it's really hard to compare it to like thinking about, did I enjoy like this story more from like maybe like a plot standpoint or an art standpoint? Because there's just so much in 52 to dive into.
So
I think it's a really it's hard because it's, like you guys said before with me, it's like I think it's a really good story. I think, like you guys said, it is probably the like best like comic book story for being like, if you want like essential comic book stuff, you got everything here. You know, you got your like noir detective stuff, you got your space stuff, you got your silly mad scientist stuff, you have your normal like superhero versus supervillain and the John Henry Irons versus Lex Luthor stuff. You have a lot of interesting like the way these plots all interact and meet with each other, like how Black Adam meets with Renee. It's like all that stuff it's really neat and it's really comprehensive. And I did have a really good time reading it. It's just there's always like the weird things that stick out to me where I'm like, I just wish it didn't end with nonsensical multiverse stuff. But it's like the arcs are like, I really liked almost all the question stuff outside of like, again, Crime Bible things. I think Ralph Dibny had a very satisfying like ending there. But then I think about like the space stuff. I'm like, that was just like so dumb.
You know, I actually turned around on the space stuff.
Yes! Yes!
I didn't hate Lobo as much as I thought I would. Like he was kind of.
This is how I want Lobo to be used. Like, because like as a central character, he's too dickish to ever be rooted for. But you want other characters to be like, oh my god, it's this fucking guy again.
Yeah. I think the way you put that really rings true for me, because if somebody asks like, what's your favorite book, I don't very often say 52, because like there are books that have like 52 really is like deeply personal for me, but like there are other books that I would put on like my list of like, these are the books that like define my taste more so. That might change now that we've done such a deep dive on it, but I always say it's the best superhero book, because a lot of the problems that you've had, Darryl, with a lot of books we've covered, and we've seen it really in Spotlight here, seem to be with like the medium, the rules and the premise of the medium in general.
Yeah.
So like
Exactly.
the fact that you have, if you didn't, like when we do books where you don't have those problems, to me that isn't necessarily a good indication of what a superhero book should, I use the term loosely based on my taste, be. So like seeing you have the same problems as usual but still overall really enjoying the book, I think showcases the strength of 52.
And it's not just like the problems I had with it being, it is comparable to other problems I have with superhero stuff, but 52 handles it much better than like a lot of other things. Like it's not nearly as annoying. I don't know if it's because like maybe I've been immunized to it by reading so much comic stuff, or that 52 was just so like long. I got invested by the end where I'm like, yeah, just look at all these people that show up at the end. It's like, it doesn't matter that there's 100 characters you don't know, because it's like, it's not about that. Like where I was buying into your guys's philosophy, where it's just, it's cool seeing all these characters interact and stuff. Like I turned around on the Chinese group at the end where I'm like, I'm really glad they're in this story.
But I wonder, because I thought the same thing. I'm like, is it just that I've been exposed to comics for so long? But I don't think so, because when I read other comics, I still am like, fuck this forever.
Yeah.
When I read something that's not handled well, where here they do a good job at making it so you don't need to know everything surrounding it.
Think about the way I'd put it is that regarding like superhero stuff, it's like I will never like comics in the same way that you guys will, but 52 is the best example of that. This is the closest I will get to ever liking like comics.
Because that's what I think 52 does so well. Because like if you give somebody, let's say like Watchmen, a book that I really like I really love Watchmen, but if you read Watchmen and then you read like a DC or Marvel book, I feel like that's a jarring jump. But if you were to read 52 and still like, you know, be really engaged and really love it, you can make the jump into a superhero book, I think, a lot easier than if you were going from this like, you know,
there's similar
you know what
threads.
I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'd agree with that too. Like it is a really good, like if you like this, you are probably can be a comic fan.
Yeah. Cool. So that concludes
We made it.
52. And it also, today is the 31st, it concludes the Patreon flyer drive. So we have one last goal that I want to mention, that if, and I think the deadline's a little loose, so I think you probably have a couple days to work with it, but if we can hit $200 a month on the Patreon, then Helen will write a full audio sitcom with actors and everything.
Wow.
And record it and put it on the Patreon. Yeah, and we've already had lots and lots of... So just recap very quickly some of the goals that we've hit. I'm watching Alien and Aliens tonight at 7 o'clock. Well, I have already watched them, but I'm streaming about them. Malcolm and John streamed and wrote a song live on air together. I released a dozen music episodes. We did a bunch of giveaways. We've done a lot of different streams, and we've done lots of crossovers. So definitely check out the Patreon if you haven't. Patreon.com/flyingmachine. All the stuff we released is still around. It doesn't expire at the end of the month. So, you know, we have the $1 tier where you get all my music stuff and a lot of old backlog stuff. The $5 tier where you get monthly episodes from every show. The $10 tier, you get a yearly gift box and you get input on blogs and episodes, and you get to pick an album for me to review, one of which is already on the Patreon. And stuff like that. So definitely check that out and join the Facebook group, Flying Machine Explorers Guild, and check out all that stuff at flyingmachine.network. Thank you guys for sticking with us for these exceptionally long weekly episodes.
Ooh, weekly,
and thank
God
you
damn.
three for making this journey through 52 even better than it was the last time I read it.
Thank yourself, Ryan, for joining us.
I actually thank you for showing me this book, because I really liked it. And
really
one
cool.
last thing I found out just now. Breaking news, if you play DC Universe Online, there's a quest where the question tells you to go steal the crime Bible from Bruno Mannheim. So, just so you know.
That's awesome. And what a good place to end it. Because the story never ends. So, thank you all for listening to Divisive Issues. I've been Booster Gold, the greatest hero you've never heard of.
I've been the only metal that's liquid at room temperature.
I've been locking Darryl in a room with Sly for all eternity to torture each other.
And I am the new death. Rest in peace, Black Adam.
The only character who didn't die. Stay in continuity.